Welcome to the Bard of All Trades podcast. I'm your host, Brad the Bard. And today I got the champ, the man Josiah Swarr, just come off his amateur title win. Got a belt. I told him to bring it, but he didn't bring it. I'm just kidding. We got a picture with it earlier when I visited the gym, and he beat my butt.
It's parked at home.
Yeah, it's a good time. And before we begin, I just want to shout out some of the sponsors. So firstly, I want to give a shout out to Vidinian. If you guys like horror, creative writing, and sci-fi and all that good stuff, check out darklegacy.net. They got some awesome content. Also, Valley Jiujitsu. If you're in the Blandon area or Reading, Pennsylvania area, and you want some training, you get a week free. Just mention Brad the Bard. Also, Art of War Cagefighting. Got the title right here. Title holder right here. So if you guys haven't seen the cage fighting event, you need to check out Art of War.
Yeah, shout out Mike and Deb. Mike and Deb are doing big things, man. I really love both of those people.
Yeah, Mike Biggins is the man. Also, Illuminati Grappling Club. If you guys want to see some incredible weekly content, there's incredible Patreon that they're putting out. It's Jay Regalbutto's project. I work with them on that, and it's amazing. Also, Rose Hunter Productions. If you need your sports filmed, if you need your martial arts filmed, look no further, man. Rose Hunter Productions got your back. We got martial artists on the crew to make sure it gets done correctly. Also, Saga Jiujitsu. If you guys are in Hatboro and you want some free jiu-jitsu as well, they have a super competitive program over there. Awesome guys. And yeah, man, that wraps up the sponsor segment, and we're going to just rip right into it. Got Josiah
That's a healthy
Swarr.
set of sponsors you got there,
man. I'm trying out here. We got some good negotiations.
I like that. Yeah, anybody that really wants their shit blasted out, sponsor this guy. Yeah, get in while it's early.
Yeah,
you know?
For real, man. But yeah, man. So, dude, we spent the day at Jiu-Jitsu 1.
Yep.
Got to eat some pad thai afterwards, which was amazing.
Great. Always good.
So, dude, like, you've been at Jiu-Jitsu 1 now. You have a boxing gym called
Lancaster City Boxing Academy.
Yep. And you were doing a lot of the kickboxing and Muay Thai.
Yep. So we pretty much do that. Like the striking classes we have 3 times a week at Jiu-Jitsu 1 are like very kickboxing oriented.
Okay.
And then, we kind of mix in some of the Muay Thai I learned in Brazil, some of the kickboxing we've both picked up, and a little bit of boxing sometimes too. We have some pretty good guys. It's not like a super crazy MMA team, but we have some guys that are down to scrap, all really friendly. Nobody's like getting carried away and being
attest
stupid.
To that.
Yeah,
like, as far as the jiu-jitsu anyway, it's
we
super cool room.
We gotta do everybody's like that in striking too.
Yeah,
everybody's chill. Everybody's there to grow together, but they're serious too. It's not like it's just purely hobbyists. Like we have some competitors too. We have one kid comes to the striking classes that box for Shippensburg. So decent level guys, all working together, and we've only been doing that like a year now, so it's really come a long way in awesome, such a short period of time.
Yeah. So I know you. We were chatting about this earlier, and I was like, you know what? I don't even want to deep dive this till later. And I think this is a great thing to start on. But like, you lived in Brazil and trained there.
Did, yeah.
Dude, tell me, like, what made you decide, like, I think I need to go to Brazil to learn how to beat people up?
So it was more because I had a girlfriend that was Brazilian.
Oh, so you met her first?
I met her here. She came here as an au pair, and
okay.
I think back in it was the pre-Tinder days. I think it was OK Cupid or something.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, she lived with me for a year, and then we had a whole bunch of issues with USCIS, the immigration service, and that's a whole I don't want to spend 20 minutes of airtime on that, but we ended up kind of getting screwed, and she couldn't come back, so I went down there the first time for like 2 months and the second time for 3 months. And the second time I was training a lot more. I was like, I can't take 3 months off. Like, I need to find something.
Because did you know you wanted to fight at that time?
For sure.
Tell me a little bit about that. So like I'm curious because it's a different language, right? Like, how do you go into another country and say like, yo, I want to be one of the greats here.
I went in very humble.
I
did not go in like,
I believe
hey,
you. You're really,
and those guys are like, I mean, fighting in Kunlun in China, going to Thailand to train, fighting in WGP, which is super competitive. It's like right below Glory. And my one buddy, like, thankfully they liked me and they took me under their wing. I became their gringo. And
nice.
They and I kind of like with the boxing gym, I kind of just showed up and I was like, I may or may not be as naturally talented. I may or may not be as experienced, but like, I'm gonna show. I have like 2 rules that I live my life by. I told you this earlier.
Yeah.
Rule number 1 is show up, and rule number 2 is don't be a bitch.
Yeah.
So that was like, you know, you don't need to be.
Good
You don't need to be. Rule number 2 doesn't need to be the best at all times. Be undefeated. Be, you know, like that's cool too. Some people motivate themselves with that.
Yeah.
I'm more of like a realist, and I'm like, you know, if I always show up and I'm never a bitch, like I'm gonna be just fine. It's worked just fine for me. So, it was funny with Brazil. I actually was planning on doing jiu-jitsu down there. But
yeah, right? Like, it's interesting you ended up
I
doing
went to
Muay
Brazil
Thai.
to do Muay Thai. And the guys I trained with, I mean, one of them, Manuel Hobson, he's fighting in LFA right now, and kicking ass. I mean, he's best friends with Alex Pereira. He's tight with Glover Teixeira and the Nogueira brothers.
Yeah.
And he's like right there about to get into the UFC. I really think you'll see that guy in there.
Yeah.
And he was just so nice to me. Like, yeah, a lot of good memories. I miss Brazil every day, bro.
Yeah.
As soon as I get that Janeiro, I'm flying south. I'm going back to Sao Paulo.
That's awesome. Man.
But
That's where
yeah.
you were, Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Sao Paulo, yeah. And I still got some really good friends there. It's just a vibe. Like, anywhere you go in the world has a different vibe. And Brazil is like, I don't know. I can't speak to the resorts. I can't speak to like a lot of people get more of a tourist.
Yeah.
You know, I was just
got
living in the
you got
suburbs.
the real
Like,
one.
I was like,
real
most people
experience.
around where I was living have probably never seen a white person in person, you know? And I'm just like, they're just like, who's this guy in the basketball shorts and the white V-neck? Like, you don't look like a tourist, you know?
Yeah.
And, but I had a great time and I miss it. And, yeah, so I planned on doing jiu-jitsu, but I got down there and then I found this gym that, it was called Coliseo. Shout out Sergio Alberto. Sergio Alberto is a really, really tough dude. Black belt in Taekwondo, black belt in crew in Muay Thai. Silver Fox. You would never expect it. He was like 50 years old, just like Silver Fox, but super nice dude. Brought me under. And I was planning on, so I had maxed out my luggage, maxed out my weight, I paid for an extra bag. I was staying for 3 months.
Yeah,
and
dude,
her mom cooks a lot, so I got a ton of like organic food and, you know, took a bunch of stuff down so I didn't feel like I was, you know, I brought some to the table.
Yeah.
And I figured when I left, I was like, well, I'll just buy a gi down there. Like, whatever. I don't need to take one of my gis. It's probably going to be gross by the time I come home. So like, I'll just buy a gi. And then I got down there and there's like very few places to buy a gi and they were like super expensive.
Oh, really?
And plus
like how much in like US dollars were you seeing the gis for?
Probably like $100 or something.
Yeah.
Like not a ton of money, but
it's
like enough that I'm like
origin prices for like China.
Yeah,
quality type shit.
and you had to either order it online or like go somewhere. Like I figured they sell it in the gym, and for whatever reason they didn't. They sold, you know, tie shorts and all that stuff. So, but the other thing I realized pretty quickly, I was like, I'm like in no way like fluent in Portuguese. I knew like just a little bit to kind of get by. Mm-hmm. And that's totally fine for like striking because you can go aqui, aqui, you know?
Oh yeah,
aqui,
jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu is it's
bro.
like if you have a language barrier with jiu-jitsu and you can't understand, like jiu-jitsu is so much more in depth.
Yeah.
It's more like striking, you can kind of just like, let me show you, do it like this, do what I'm doing, you know, and you can kind of point and adjust things. Like jiu-jitsu is like, I don't know. It just, I got there and right away
with the description of like, oh, with the position here, if you actually use this part of your hand, don't use the thumb.
Yeah, right.
Grip. Like,
yeah, it's so much more intricate, and it's also like, I don't know. I didn't want to risk getting hurt, and then of course I ended up getting a big concussion the day before I came home sparring. But I just honed in on that, and it was awesome. Just like kicking a sandbag until my shins creaked, and just.
Well, the initial question that like made me bring this up like earlier today with you was like, I was listening back to the interview we did at the very end of Art of War 33.
Okay, yeah.
And you were talking about like your conditioning and things like that. Mm-hmm. And then you brought up like they were kicking the sandbag. So tell me, like, what does it take to become a conditioned like Muay Thai fighter?
Well, I think it's one of those things that takes at least a couple months if you're training like a lot. Like if you're
How many days a week were you training?
I was like, I think 3 or 4. I
Yeah.
think we kind
Pretty
of
hard
some weeks were
training?
oh dude,
Yeah.
crazy
How
training.
many hours?
Like 3 hours.
Oh.
Like we would do like an hour, hour and a half of like drills in different, like he had a row of bags, and the one was like 3 punch combinations, and you do that, and then you go to the other, each bag you did twice, and then you do the other side, and then you do 3 elbow combinations, and then you do one was speed kicks, ladders to 5. So I'd be on the one side with my right leg, he'd be on the other side with his left. I would do 1 speed kick, he'd do 1. I'd do 2, he'd do 2. We go up to 5, we do 5, we go back down. We had another one that was leg kicks, and he'd put 2 jump ropes on the floor. So you'd have to step, kick, step, step. And there was like no in between steps, you know, pull-ups, push-ups, holding mitts for each other, knees on the one bag, you know, like it was everything. And then we'd spar, and then we would do like, I think it was 200 teeps, 200 sit-ups, and like 200 leg kicks or something. Like it was like that. And then one time I did that. That's how I got really tight with my buddy Manuel. I did that whole thing, and my phone was dead, and my girl and her family were coming to pick me up. And Manuel goes, "Vamos correr, let's run." And I was like, you know how it is. Like somebody asks you to do something, and it's really tempting a lot of times to be like, "Oh, I can't today, but like let's definitely do it next time," you know? And then it like, you leave it out there, and then it just kind of never happens, you know? And I remember thinking like, if I don't do this, I don't want to be that guy. And if I don't run with him this time, I might never get the chance. So we start running. I had to like, I couldn't even like tell anybody at the gym, like tell my girlfriend and her family, like,
because your language is
I'm
so
running
shitty.
and coming back, and my phone's dead. And I'm like, they're going to be getting here, and like, I'm just not going to be here, and they're going to be waiting here for like ever. And I'm going to be like, I had to take advantage of the run, you know? So we start running down the street, and I'm like, ¿Cuántos kilómetros nos estamos cogiendo? He's like, 10. And I was like,
no, bro.
Okay. All right.
Fuck.
Cool.
After the 3-hour training?
Yeah,
dude, I don't even know how the fuck you did.
And he's like, and he's just like, he loves it. Like, he's just running, and he's got his little gold chain on, and we're running, and we're like, kind of like he knew a couple English words, I knew a couple Portuguese words. We're just kind of, you know, making small talk. And like everybody, we ran like 3 miles down this strip and 3 miles back. And this isn't like downtown Sao Paulo. This is like a suburb. Like, I love it. Like some people might, I don't know. Everybody's got different comfort levels, but there's like street dogs all over the place, just like hanging out, and people would see Manuel run past and go, "Hey, vai, Manuel! Hey, it noise!" You know, and
that's awesome. Dude.
So it was cool, and I had trained like a year and a half of kickboxing before I went there, but I never like quite clicked necessarily with the fighters up here. I think part of it was because, you know, they were fighting, and it was kind of like a clique, you know, because it was like you're either like one of the active fighters or you're not. And I was just kind of a guy that was like, I want to become an active fighter, but I don't know if I'm quite willing to do this or that, you know, to get there. So they were nice to me, but I really just learned.
What was it about the Brazilian crew that clicked for you?
They were just so nice. They were just like, each one of those guys could have destroyed everybody I knew up here, but none of them like felt the urge to like prove it. They were just like smiling and happy and sparring,
this is
and
just
like
what they do.
It was just a different vibe. Yeah. And then I learned a lot of stuff, and I tried to come back here and like tell the kickboxers like, hey, here's some stuff I learned. And they were like, you've never fought, you don't know what you're talking about. And I was just like, okay, whatever, I'll fuck off.
A
like,
world-class guy.
Dude. Like, literally best friends with Alex Pereira.
I didn't come up with this.
And it was crazy because I was actually there when Alex Pereira knocked Israel Adesanya out.
Yeah, you were.
And it was a kickboxing match, and I, like, at the time they were just kickboxers, so it took me a couple years to like really realize what I had witnessed. I was like, oh shit. Like I went there, me and Manuel and both of our girlfriends went, and I remember watching Pereira come out. He was kind of losing, and then he knocked him out, and it was crazy because everybody else on that card was Chinese and Brazilian. and it was like a China versus Brazil kickboxing card.
Interesting.
And then for whatever reason, I think it was the main event. The headliner was Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya, and I don't know why I guess just because he was like a fairly big name in kickboxing at that point, but I don't know why he was like representing the Chinese side or whatever.
But that's interesting, right? There's like a whole Sean Strickland like tried to like come at him about that in the press conference.
I didn't
like,
see that. Yeah,
he just like said some stuff about like, oh, like you're like a sellout to the Chinese or something. I don't know. I don't.
Well, New Zealand is kind of over there, I guess. So.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he's got buddies.
They're paying well, I guess. Like, I don't know.
That's what it's all about in some ways. Yeah. As long as you're not compromising your convictions, your ideals. Yeah. We're all trying to get that guap, you know? And like, you should be happy for other people when they get the guap. I try and always be happy, you know?
Yeah, man.
If China's paying you, maybe it's a little like side eye a little bit.
It's like, but well, it's one of those things where it's like, I think like where my stance is on a lot of these things with like China and like other authoritarian like types of things. Yeah. But like at the end of the day, unfortunately, you need money to strive. So as long as like you said, you're not compromising your own morals to get what you or like to get your fix, your success is
as long as you're not,
kind of need to. It's like the same thing. Like I don't necessarily think some sponsors of the UFC are the best, but it's not gonna make me not watch the UFC. It's like it's like the money's gonna come from somewhere. Like I guess like it's.
I wish they still let them rep their own sponsors though. You know?
The fighters can't.
Yeah. I haven't been able to since like
I did not know that.
Like on their shorts, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. That's
you didn't realize that? Yeah. No, it was kind of messed up because.
What about like a hoodie on the walk-in?
Maybe
because I
think you can have your banner. You can have a banner.
Reebok hoodie.
Well, that's because Reebok
sponsors the UFC.
I think it's not Reebok anymore. It's,
really?
It's Venom. So like, but yeah, the Reebok deal happened. I wish we had a Jamie. Pull that up, Jamie.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
but I think the Reebok deal happened in 2014 or 2015, and it was kind of messed up because they acted like, well, football players can't rep their own sponsors, like baseball players can't rep their own sponsors. Like we're trying to get on ESPN. Like they kind of came from the perspective of trying to legitimize the sport. I remember them saying trying to legitimize the sport. And like the first couple shows after they did that, it was like a clean octagon and clean shorts. And then all the sponsors came back in the octagon. But it's like, I'll bet they're not getting the same
treatment.
Chunk they were getting. Yeah, because that was huge. Like up until like 2014, 2015, everybody could put whatever sponsors they wanted on their shorts. And that's a huge way that fighters make money, you know? So to take that away and kind of create dependency on the promotion for your sponsorship.
Especially because like at the lower end, you're still not making like enough to, really take care of you.
And I will say, like, I understand, like, something I've tried to always be conscious with the past year since I started fighting for Art of War is like, this is an interdependent relationship. This is a work relationship. Like I'm bringing something to the table. You're giving me a table to bring it to, and like, I don't bite the hand that feeds me. Like you fuck me over. Like I might just fuck off. I might like figure out a way to get a little even or whatever. But like, I don't go around looking for like things to bitch about. And I think it's unfortunate that you see a lot of these guys, they get to a really high level, they get in the UFC, and then they show up day one and they have this attitude like everybody works for them. And they're like, I'm putting my health on the line, I'm doing this, and they'll start
been doing that.
Yeah. When it's like you're like, I get it, you need to get paid, but you're doing it because you love it. Right? Like you're doing it because this is like who you always wanted to be, or you should be. Yeah. And a lot of times, guys, it seems like they come in and they act like Dana White's never fought. Dana White doesn't have to blah, blah, blah. And it's like, Dana White's a fat cat. He's a businessman. Like, he doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. And you coming in day one with this shitty attitude, like, everybody works for me because I'm the one putting on a show here. Like, good luck making any friends. Good luck making any network connections. Like, you're coming in day one with a blowtorch, just burning all your bridges, you know? And I just, I don't know.
Hear
like,
of this, the concept of imperfect allies?
I've heard that term before.
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's like a huge...
It's like it's not the hero we want, it's the hero we need, or something kind of stuff almost.
Kind of, or almost another like thing I've heard similar is like the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Okay,
you know,
yeah.
It's like maybe his
That's how the
morals
Vietnam
aren't
War
right,
got
but,
started,
like,
right? Yeah. Our defense industry has been playing that one a little too far. Yeah. Sorry.
To that,
Sorry, go ahead. Here's to all the fallen comrades, man, on both sides. You know, living in a pit, fighting for what you believe in, is never easy, no matter where you're from. You know, I respect it.
Yeah, that's like what's the thing? I think Khabib. I don't know if Khabib's the one that said this, but I had a Russian guy on my podcast, and we were talking about it. It's like the one language like any like nation knows is smash.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like that in music.
Did you ever see the little video with was it Kamzaev? He was like, they were riding horses in like the Caucasus Mountains, just like middle of nowhere on a big mountain, and he's just like little he might have not said smash, but he's a smash boy too.
Yeah.
And like the dude filming it is like Kamzaev is like trying to get his horse to fight the dude's horse, and the horse is getting all, and he's like, dude, stop, for real, stop. And he's like, okay, little fight, and they just like comes right back, and they're like, the horses are like biting at each other, and he's just there like, little fight. I remember he said that, little fight.
Oh shit!
It's like, bro, you're gonna knock us off this horse, and we're gonna roll down the mountain
for real. They're
But,
gonna fucking run away.
You gotta have that little bit of like, you gotta like to fight, you know. And I think there's a lot of guys in this game that are in it because of their family, or because of their coaches, or their parents, or their friends, or their teammates, or because, you know, even worse, like, it's good to do things for those people, but even
like
worse,
maybe,
you know,
maybe if you're like genetically gifted and you're like doing it for like you said, like maybe your dad like never had a shot, and he's like,
but I just feel like psychologically, you know, like if you're doing it for any other reason than because you just fucking love it, you're going to run into a guy who just really loves it in the cage, and he's going to be loving it in there, and you're going to right away start to feel like, get me out of here, you know, because like your adrenaline, your instincts, your endocrine system, like your whole system, all the systems are shouting like at you, and you can channel that productively and just kind of be like, flame on, like, this is what we're just we're riding the coasters, you know, like, I came here to feel these butterflies, I came here to feel like I'm gonna throw up a little bit. Or, you know, like, what's really easy to do, you see guys that they run away from it and they let it kind of crush you, and they look for a way out. And it's easy to do, man. It's hard enough to be really good in the gym, but to be really good in a situation where it's like made to be not ideal, right? Like, you're sleeping somewhere else, you're going to another town, you have all these media obligations, you got to cut weight, you got to, like, you know, there's all these things, and then it's like, okay, now go back in this concrete floored back room and warm up, and then now go. Yeah, it's your time. Go. You know, and to be able to do that and like genuinely enjoy the process, to me, that's why I do it. And I don't know how long I can do it. You know, my body's already kind of starting to fall apart. I'm feeling Father Time knocking on the door, but like I think I have a good skill set. I think I still have a decent amount of shelf life left in me. Yeah. So let's fucking go, you know, like,
I feel
stomp that gas pedal a little bit, clear the lifters out a little, you know, you gotta rev it a little bit, man. You know?
Yeah. Trouble was saying that about The Ultimate Fighter too. Like that is not only a test of the mind and body, but also like, how the spirit handles the constant like media attention and things, you know? And you're right, man. It's so, there's so many elements to that. Do you think you could handle that?
I'd like to think so. I guess you never really know until you're in those situations. But I've had enough like high stress situations now where I've seen how I performed, and I'm pretty proud of how I've done under pressure. So I think so. Cause honestly, like, I think, like I said, people run away from it, or some people run too hard into it and they create this big character and it's not sustainable, you know? So I've spent a lot of time, I'm really into psychology and philosophy, and I've spent a lot of time, you know, years really like trying to figure out if I'm fighting, like, what character do I want to play? You know, do I want to play something kind of funny?
Yeah.
You know, like I even had one of my fight names that we threw around was the Prospector.
Yeah.
And we were going to like come out with like a pickaxe, like, you know, like great. WWE stuff. Like you can lean all the way into the character.
Yeah.
Or you can be the bad guy character.
Yeah, the villain,
you know,
right?
Or you can kind of like let it crush you and kind of run away from it a little bit. I just want to be in the middle. I want to be as close as I can be to my authentic self.
Yeah.
And just, you know, make friends. And that's what I've been doing the past year, is just networking, being myself, running into people like yourself who are also just themselves. Yeah. And like sometimes it clicks, sometimes it doesn't, but like I'm living the dream. Yeah, I can't put it any other way. Like I'm on good terms with the promoter at like a promotion that has UFC fighters in the crowd like every fight, you know, and I've met UFC fighters, I've trained with one or two of them, you know, and
seems like you're well on your way, man.
I'm just loving it, you know, like I genuinely feel like I could quit right now and be proud of what I've done with it.
Yeah.
And then it's such a freeing feeling, because it's like, cool, like this is all extra credit, let's see how far we can take it. You know? Right. And I spent a lot of years like not being ready, you know, like not trying to wait until I was ready. And then, you know, it's been 3 years of kind of dealing with some chronic injuries on and off. And I spent 2 years trying to get my body 100%, not have injuries that popped up. And then a little over a year ago, I was just like, that might never be the reality, you know? And I'm getting closer to 30. Like, how many years am I going to wait around for it to be perfect? And even if I got to that point, I'm fighting. You know, like, how many fights am I going to be uninjured in a row? You know? So, I don't know. It can be a little bittersweet when, like, you know how jiu-jitsu is, like, your first half of your journey, you're figuring it out. And everything's so new. And you have those couple plateaus, but it's still really exciting. And then you start to, like, once you hit the upper belts, you start to be like, there's a trade-off here. Like, this is easier for me. I move like this more naturally. I have like certain moves in my game, at least, that I'm really good at. Yeah. But my body's falling apart. Yeah. And it's almost like, it can almost feel like you're looking at it through like a glass window. And you're like, I can see it all now. It used to be a dark room that I was fumbling around in. Now it's like all illuminated, but I'm just like, I can't do it with my own body, you know? And
I know, right?
That can be frustrating. And that's honestly why the past 3 years I've really sunk myself into coaching. And it's helped me grow a lot too. You know, I love coaching, and I know some people don't like it, and I think that's fine. Like, but I've always been passionate about teaching and coaching. I coached wrestling for 4.5 seasons, and I've been teaching jiu-jitsu like, I started kids class like a year before I switched to this gym. I've been at this gym for 4 years now. And I think the first year I was at this gym, I just kind of helped with kids a little, and like, and then within a year in, I took like Friday mornings and then Wednesday mornings. So yeah, it's probably been like, if you count the kids classes, like 4 or 5 years, something like that. And I'm super thankful to Nick Ingenito Jiu-Jitsu One for giving me that. Basically, like, I get it. It's like, you know, if you own a gym, you want people to teach, so you don't have to teach everything. Like, I get it. It's not just charity. But it's been cool to be able to like almost borrow an established gym, you know? And like, you have like a solid customer base.
What belt were you when you started like really feeling the teaching? Because like, I feel like I'm getting to that point. I don't know.
I was
if it's
purple.
You were purple.
I was purple. Yeah.
Dude, like it's a weird, maybe you can comment on this, but like, just the other day I actually like the whole, like this whole month, I've been visiting a ton of gyms. I just like, you have vacation time, and people are inviting me, and I'm fucking
the season.
showing up.
Yeah,
bro. I'm showing up.
Sure.
But yeah, man, like people are inviting me out, and like I roll with their white belt, and like they do some shitty thing, and I'm like, after the roll, I'm like, yeah, man, like you should try this. But it's like the coach is there. I'm like, is that disrespectful? But or is it like, nah, dude, this dude's a fucking white belt that doesn't know shit.
Yeah.
Like, any info from any upper belt.
I think as long as you're not like gathering the crowd around,
dude,
like,
I would never,
I think it makes you a good training partner.
Yeah.
If you're an upper belt and you're, throwing out little nuggets for the lower belts,
Because I'm thinking like back in my day, like if someone did that, I even used to ask people. I'm like, yo, what did you think of my roll? And like, is there anything I can fix? I would ask the upper belts after like most rolls. After most rolls, I would ask like, yo, what did I do wrong here? Why'd you keep armbarring me?
That's a huge part of jiu-jitsu is like note taking and feedback and like what's the word I'm looking for? Not just engaging with, but like really making use of your time with upper belts, because I think a lot of times when you're white and blue belt, it can be a little intimidating, but that really, when I was a white belt, like one of my biggest leaps that I took was there was this guy, I think he was a brown belt at the time. Might have still been purple, but I think he was brown. And he was known for his triangle, armbar, Kimura, and straight ankle lock. And especially his Kimura. He was really good at sitting on your head, trapping your bottom arm, either with his knee or his heel, and then like hitting that elbow straight down into your ribs. And you would get that, you'd like, and then your arms behind your back, And he was so good at that. And I remember he would hit it pretty rough. Yeah. If you tapped like right away, he'd let it go, but he would, rip it a little bit. And the wall, like he would push it to the wall. Yeah. It's not like he was like really gonna necessarily break your shit, but like especially when you're not used to that. He was ripping it a little bit. Yeah, like if just a little. If you had a sore thing, it's definitely gonna be worse.
He
wasn't gonna destroy it, but he was gonna rip it a little. And I remember everybody would avoid this guy. Everybody would avoid him because he would hurt your feelings. Yeah. And I remember thinking as a white belt, everybody in the room is scared of this guy. And I wonder if psychologically somehow I can make him scared of me. And I was like, not necessarily scared, but I remember thinking it that way. Yeah. And thinking, I'm going to roll with him. And when he's done rolling with me, I'm gonna thank him for the roll and then ask if he would go one more. And I'm gonna try and just double tap him every time I see him, and just always get multiple rolls with him until he's like fed up with it and he's like, I'm done rolling with you. And then I'm like psychologically like, I'm the only person in this room that you don't want to roll with. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like nobody wants to roll with you. And I'm the one person who's like, I want to roll with you and you don't want to roll with me. That's so funny, like, dude. It was like a weird little thing. And then it took me a while, but I was able to defend the Kimura and then end up in the triangle, and then defend the Kimura and defend the triangle and then get armbarred, and then defend the Kimura, defend the triangle, defend the armbar, and end up in a guillotine. And like I was able to like keep adding one step to it until we would roll hard and he couldn't submit me. Maybe once or twice. He'd like really turn it up. Yeah. But I got to that point, and I think most people get to that point, whether it's, white belt is like, you better work your fucking dick off and be like already a wrestler or something. But like somewhere like purple, brown, black, most people get to a point where you're good enough that like, we're going to flow through stuff. We're not like when we rolled today, it was like, maybe a couple times I could have really tried to finish you. Yeah. But I'm just like, I don't even feel like doing that. Yeah. Like I don't need to be a dick right now. Yeah, I don't need to be a dick. Yeah. I like this guy. I don't even feel like spending this much energy. Yeah. Like, and I think you get to a point where you're like, and it's an important to have both. Like when you're a white belt and a blue belt, you're like, I'm just trying to get something. I just want to feel somebody tap for once, you know? Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And then you get stuff and you're just like, I got them with a fucking bow and arrow today. And you're like the rest of the day and through to the next training. And now I'm like, I'm just going to play bottom half guard. Yeah. Oh, you got past me. Up, I'm shrimping out. Oh, you took my back. Okay. I'm getting down here. Okay. Now I got your back. Let's just a little kneel belly. Yeah. A little grind. Grease it up a little bit. A little grease. So I'm just kind of like, I go home and I like forget who I rolled with and I forget who got what. And like, it doesn't mean the same thing to me, but I think it's good when you're kind of new, you have to want it. Yeah. You do, and you have to.
It's nice to come out the other side. where it's like I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Because like I was just
little jaded. Yeah, we're a little jaded at this point.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, dude, like I've rolled with world class. I know I'm not like the cream. I'm not Mikey Musumeci. I'm not Gordon Ryan, and I'm not trying to be either.
Sure.
I see what it takes to be
all
that.
consuming.
Yeah. So I'm good being me. Like,
yeah.
But I was telling Trouble this too. Like the best way I've noticed, like in my, the more recent year or two of my training is like I'm putting myself in way more vulnerable spots. Like I'll start from turtle.
Yeah.
Start from like.
You got a tight turtle.
Thank you, sir.
I saw that turtle you were down in there. I was like, I'm about to crack this bitch open. This shell is tight. Yeah.
Call it a snapper. Don't let me get that leg.
Yeah. Start playing with your far leg. It was just like, let's see if we can set a truck up in here.
Exactly. Good luck.
Yeah.
I got counters. No, but
dude, you were out of there.
Yeah, no,
you're
it's
fastest
so fun,
turtle
man.
I've ever seen.
Fastest turtle. Turtle in the hair, right? But yeah, man, I've been putting myself in more vulnerable spots, and I like to roll with people who like break what I'm doing. I'm like, ooh, you have something I don't know about, like, and then I'll let them do it. Like you're kind of like you're doing the two rolls with the guy.
Yeah,
I'll do it. I'm like, I need to figure this out. So they'll tap me like 5 times in a roll or something, and the next roll I'll have it like pretty like I have an idea for a defense now that I get to digest that
is
roll.
So critical. I think anybody that's listening that really wants to be successful in jiu-jitsu, whether you're competing or not, like obviously, especially if you're competing, but if you just want to like get there someday, get your black belt and like, do it for life, you're going to have to at some point switch from only trying to be in your comfort zone, you know, like you're going to have to get to a point where you're like, this guy fucked me up and I liked it. Yeah. And it was good. And I learned so much more from that than I did from that, like those couple other rolls where it was like, we're 2 blue belts just slogging each other, or like I was able to get one thing on him kind of, like, I don't know. You're going to eventually have to like it's a weird blend. Like you have to take it seriously, but you can't take it too seriously.
You need both.
Yeah,
it's
for
not,
sure.
There's a yin and yang. It's not
absolutely,
it's not
and they both
one.
Make up something else.
Mm-hmm.
They're both 2 halves of a whole, and that whole is like each one of those things is necessary. You know, like I think wrestling or jiu-jitsu is really special like that because it has both of those, right? Like wrestling, very. I don't know if it's the yin or the yang. Very like masculine, very one track oriented. Take them down, break them down. Turn them over. Yeah, that's it. Like if anything moves in the reverse order, you're doing it wrong. You're losing. If they just get out 1 point, like jiu-jitsu doesn't have back points and there's no escape points. So like you can be really aggressive or very passive or a mixture of both, and they can work, really well. It's almost like what Kung Fu is supposed to be. It's got
we were
that,
talking about this earlier too, like the D1 guy, like. Because his background, if he hasn't done jiu-jitsu, is he's just bull rushing in. Yeah. And that's why because he's so aggressive, it's like, easy to sweep, easy to submit right here. I know exactly what to hit this
neck's out there all the time. Yeah.
But then once that guy figures out leg locks, it's a problem.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. Yeah. It's like you have to be – and MMA, I think it kind of segues into MMA where the game is at now. I think – the amateur MMA game is crazy nowadays. Like you watch a lot of these like advanced amateur, like regional pro fights, like it's like right on the door of the UFC. You know what I mean? Like if you take like the best regional card and like the advanced amateurs, even some of the like starting amateurs, like you're seeing some of these, some of the fights on that last card was that dude Liam O'Toole.
Oh my god,
dude,
what a crazy
came out
match,
and kicked Francis's ass.
And dude, Francis was like undefeated at that time.
Yeah.
Like, because I'd never heard of Liam, like I didn't know what his background was.
Sure.
I was like, oh well, Francis has like another
win. He took that personally.
Oh yeah, well dude, he did, man. He was pissed at like Bob Maloney and stuff. Of like when he did like the post-fight interview, like none of you believed in me, fuck you. Like I don't know what he said exactly.
Yeah. And Bob was like, "This is amazing content.
Yeah.
You can say fuck me all day long. I love it." Yeah.
Yeah, but dude, that was awesome. Like Francis had an incredible knee bar though. Oh, that entry was like,
yeah,
oh, God,
yeah.
so tight
for sure.
But yeah, man.
Yeah,
I
he's
think,
Rick's nephew, right?
yes,
He's
that's correct.
Rick Migliori's nephew.
That's
yeah,
correct.
So he's
yeah.
and he's got
in a great
hands. I
camp.
mean, you
dude.
can see he's well rounded. And
I think
that,
he was tunneled in on that submission. He wanted to finish it with jiu-jitsu. And that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to him. I'd like to. And I'm curious like what was going through his mind at that time, because it seemed like for 2 rounds at least he really wanted submission. And he was taking shots to get to, like, he was getting punished on his way to them.
Yeah.
And man, yeah, like Liam's hands were incredible.
Yeah.
Dude was like very durable. Like I'd like to talk to him too. Like both of them dudes are.
That's what I'm saying. These guys have
futures.
like 2 fights each.
Yeah.
Like this is like very beginning amateur.
Yeah.
And
they're
that's
like
the game.
good,
That's the
dude.
game now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And that's why I'm like, I don't know. Like you kind of got to be smart with how you do it, because there's a lot of organizations and like they all build themselves as a stepping stone to the UFC.
Yeah.
But like you could, like it's all just the people. Like Mike and Deb, I was honestly like a year ago, I was more worried. I was just as worried about the fighting itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was more worried about the fact that I'm not part of Grindhouse or NPR or Algeo MMA or any of these like established gyms that have their foot in the door. Like I'm just some guy showing up from 2 hours west, you know? And so I was really worried about getting to know people and like who you can trust. And like that was a big thing I stressed about. And like to fall in with Mike and Deb and with you and with all these other Trouble, all these guys I've met, like, and I've gotten good vibes from all of them. I understand it's a work relationship. Like I'm not trying to like eat Thanksgiving dinner with everybody.
Yeah.
Like I'm not overstepping my bounds. Like I get it. It's a work relationship, but it takes 2 to tango, and like it's all about trust, and trust takes a long time to build. And it only takes one instance to destroy it, And if you break respect or trust, they're kind of the same thing. If you break trust and respect, like you're never going to be able to rebuild it the same way, you know. So, and it might take that to learn. Oh, like I need to take this more seriously, and maybe with now these new relationships, I'm gonna approach it differently. Like I'm not saying it's irredeemable if you're somebody who's broken trust. Maybe certain ways, like if someone's broken trust in like a violent or a, sadistic way.
Yeah, or like, even like drama, like where gym drama can get weird with like relationships and things.
But I just think like all things considered, it's like if you show up and you don't be a bitch and you just always show up, you're like, don't take like a month off training and then, I want to always have fights that are 8 weeks out. And like I start my training and I go so hard and every little detail from my sleep to my
Grains
food to my car. Yeah, it's like I don't know. I just to each his own. Maybe some people thrive like that. I just can't live my life like that. Like I love martial arts because they keep me sane, when I'm in the gym, like the vibes I got when you visited our gym today, I have like moments where I'm like genuinely ecstatic, like you have those little moments where you're like, God damn, I fucking love this shit, like,
fuck yeah,
and
bro.
that's dude, that's what it's all about. It's not about being the best. It's about setting an example and passing that knowledge on to the next generation,
Absolutely.
And it's not just about being successful. You can be successful and sell your soul and play some character that you don't really want to be. Then what happens? You kind of lose people's trust that you're not actually that. Like, look at McGregor.
Yeah,
I love McGregor.
yeah.
I love him for what he's done. But like, I would never start a business with that guy. Like I would never have him as my CEO of my business.
Yeah.
It would be great for like the first quarter.
Yeah.
And then it would be like, this guy is like
out of control.
Control, bro. And like, my favorite fighters. So my favorite fighters, I'm going to forget some. This is an exhaustive list. But my first favorite fighter was always Clay Guida. And
you were mentioning
I always loved Clay Guida. I love Jose Aldo. When Conor knocked him out, it broke my heart. I did one of those like for like a whole minute straight.
Damn.
Just me quiet in the room, like. And I just dude, that destroyed me. I was so sure that Jose was the one that was gonna have his number, you know. And but I still love Jose Aldo. I love Rory McDonald. I love I love Robbie Lawler, GSP, and then it gets more into like there's still a couple more, but it starts to get more into the guys that I love their game, but I'm not as big of a fan of them as people, you know, like John Jones.
Yeah,
the greatest, but just
great example.
It's like the Eagles. It's like it's so hard to root for you. Like I want to love you so bad, and every time I'm like, he's doing okay. Like, nope, he got caught taking dick pills that had whatever in them. You know, oh, he hit a pregnant lady in a car and then left his pipe in the car and ran away. And, you know, so I don't know, like, I love his style. Watching him in the cage is like invigorating for me. Cause I'm like, he's just present. Like he's present. He's loose. He's not wasting his energy and he's not wasting his electricity in his brain. Yeah. You know, he's just out there and he's a dog. Yeah. You know?
I remember I was at a very fun party with that David Weintraub was hosting when we got to watch the John Jones versus Francis.
Oh shit.
God, dude.
Yeah.
That dude is so scary.
Yeah. Yeah. John is another level of competitor.
Yeah.
If he could just be like stable in his personal life, he'd be the Gordon Ryan of it. Gordon's at least like somewhat stable. He gets online and he argues with people.
Instagram like troll.
He's a little high functioning. He got the tism a little bit, you know.
No doubt.
But he's at least not like, I don't know, getting caught speed racing with drugs in the car and like beating the shit out of his baby mama, and then like the cops come and take you away and you like smash your head on the cop car hood and dent the hood and get like a destruction of property. Like, you remember that shit with John Jones?
I'm not aware of that whole not of every single like order of operations.
He caught like a domestic charge and his girl looked like terrified to report it, but was obviously beat up. And then they like arrested him and he's like standing out by the cop car and he's like doing the whole like, do you even know who I am kind of thing. And then he like slams his head on the hood of the cop car in frustration and like dented the cop car. And then they were like, all right, destruction of property. Like, just oh man, like I want to like, and like deep down inside I know he's not like a terrible person. You know what I mean? It's not like
just like a it's kind of like
he's not
Mike
like
Tyson
Bill Gates
type shit.
Like, you know?
Exactly.
Like he's got a good heart. I think he's just, I don't know if it's the trauma, the baggage. Fuck that motherfucker.
Yo, but
Bill Gates, if you're listening, you can suck my balls. I want nothing to do with it.
Indeed. Really quick though, like while we're on the topic of like wild, crazy UFC shenanigans, what's your opinion on Cain Velasquez?
Oh, dude, I wish he would have killed that motherfucker, and I wish he would have gotten the Hero of the City award for doing it. You know, like I understand there has to be a rule of law. We can't just take things into our own hands. But I am also like 100%. Like, if you know for a fact that somebody has abused a child, and I'm not talking just spanking them or like, you know, like some people call some like old school discipline abuse. Like, here's the thing. It's not illegal to be a bad parent. Yeah. It's illegal to be abusive. It's illegal to be like sadistic or like starve your kids or beat them too much. Like, but it's not illegal to like believe the wrong things or like teach your kids the wrong way of doing stuff. Like, and this country's about freedom, you know? And I grew up, a lot of the ways I grew up was very like fundamentalist Christian. Everything out there is evil and long hair's bad, drinking's bad, tattoos are bad, everything's bad. And I grew up in the back of a 15-passenger van looking out the window at the motorcycles like, I'm gonna be just like that. So I'm not quite like that, you know, but I love motorcycles. I just all that to say, yeah, I think if somebody has like abused a child,
Well,
I wish the way
the main thing for me is
And-
that the judge let him fucking go.
Well, dude, it happens.
Fucking punishment.
It happens all the time.
Someone's got to punish.
There's
him.
somebody I know really well, and their child, their son, when he was like 10 or so years ago, he was molested by a family friend, and they spent 2 years getting this guy sentenced. 2 years. This kid had to show up at court. Well, this kid that molested the kid, he was like 19 or something at the time. He had been adopted by like a wealthy family. And so every time they're showing up, this poor like 10, 11, 12-year-old is showing up to tell his part, you know. And not only that, while this whole trial's going on, that other fucking guy like broke into a neighbor's house that had kids, and like, you know, like just a danger to society.
Yeah.
But like you said, yeah, a lot of times it gets down to it. So they're 2 years in. This person, like, their wealthy family and their church would show up to support them. You know, like, you're gonna show up and sit on the opposite side of the aisle of a kid that was molested. Like, shouldn't you be sitting in his pews? You know what I mean? In his aisle. And but they get all the way 2 years in. Thankfully, the mom, the grandma, the sibling, they wrote to the judge, but they get all the way to sentencing, and their defender, their prosecutor, says, you know, I just don't want you to get your hopes up, because this district attorney doesn't like to put people in jail for these type of crimes, you know.
Dude.
And then so thankfully they got him for 8 years.
Yeah.
But I just feel like once you destroy trust like that, like, there is no purpose for you other than to be turned into fertilizer. You know what I mean? And I hope we get to the point as a society. I mean, obviously, like I said, I'm not talking like as reprehensible as it would be, like someone having a 16 or 17-year-old girlfriend or something, or somebody who's like, you know, like people who are like abusing other people's kids, or we find them with a ton of child porn, and they like, it's not just planted by the cops, because that also gets tricky, you know. But if you're dead to rights, like if you're like, your stepdaughter has, you know, done the thing she would never want to do, and like gone out of her comfort zone to like talk to police officers about, and gave like a very good description. She knows, like, if you're dead to rights, like, throw them down the chute. You know, like, there is no way.
Castrate, like,
I don't even agree with that, because then they can still hurt kids. Imagine if you're an evil person like that and you get castrated, like, you think you're gonna just accept it and not get back at the world, you know?
Maybe. I see that.
You know what I mean? Like,
if you're
you
messed
can
up enough
still
to do
abduct, you can still extract pain, you can and why wouldn't you? Because the world took this from you, because like you were abused as a kid, and then, you know, like, I get it, but there's that story, you know, like, you ever hear the one where it's like, two sons had an abusive father, and an alcoholic father, and one grew up and became an alcoholic, and one grew up and became a doctor. It's just for the story. They say a doctor probably shouldn't become a doctor, you know, but they asked both of them, why did you become an alcoholic, and why did you become a doctor? And they both said, because my father was an alcoholic, you know. So like, there's I get it. If you're abused as a kid, you know, I was abused by a doctor. I was abused in different ways, you know, and like, I understand how that can make you feel. How that can make you feel like you blame yourself, or like, is something wrong with me because this happened? Like, I get that. So I'm not saying that like obviously the reason people are doing things is because they're fucked up. But the way I look at it is like, if it's somehow forgivable for abusing kids like that, then killing the people that are abusing the kids is also somehow forgivable, right? Like, if somehow it's redeemable, and you, whether you want to stand before God, whatever like your metric is, if somehow it's forgivable to like rape a child, like, then me, like, if that's just who you are, then just who I am is somebody that hates people like that. You know, like, and I feel okay, that. You can't help that. I can't help that I hate you for that. And I can't help that I feel like there's no way to trust you. And for the kid's sake, you need to be eliminated from the equation, you know? And the other way I look at it, so it's like, if that's not forgivable, then, or if that is forgivable, then killing those people is also forgivable. If it's not forgivable, then all the more reason they need to be killed.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I look at it. It's like very cut and dry.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I wish these...
It's innocence. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's something that you can never give back. It's something that, like, even if you get charged, even if you're put to death, you still took something from that child that they have to live with the rest of their lives, you know? And I just do not believe in, because here's the thing, you send them to fucking prison. Everybody in prison wants to kill them. So you give them special treatment. How many fucking hundreds of thousands of dollars each year for each one of these fucking twisted fucks are we spending of our tax money to keep them alive? Just so what? They get out and then we just wait around to reoffend? Like, to me, it's like, it's unsustainable.
Yeah.
Like, as an ethical feeling, as a economic decision, like, I just feel like
they are like a very heavy burden of society.
Absolutely. And there is nothing they can contribute. Yeah. I'm not even for like keeping them as labor. You know what I mean? Because the chance of them escaping, and you're giving them their own little culture, their own little society. Like, I just genuinely feel like you have forfeited your right to life. And it's over. Like, there's nothing after that. So, you know, if we can, I would love if we got to the point as a society where, like, if that happened, like 30 armed men just took care of it. And the cops came and picked them up. And the cops, here's the thing, the cops work for us. I have a lot of friends that are cops. Like, there's a lot of good cops. There's a lot of crooked cops. Yeah. I've known a lot of both. Yeah. And, you know, like, I've had cops where I'm like, damn, you're a really good person and you're doing a really hard job. And I've had cops where I'm like, you're a fucking asshole. And like, all of your buddies are assholes and you guys are a little gang, you know? Yeah. And you're like the gang that's above the law. It's the worst type of gang when it's like that. And I get it. I think it's a necessary job. We have to enforce laws. Mm-hmm. It's a very difficult job. Absolutely. But it's like anything, there has to be transparency. There has to be accountability. We can't be having this bullshit where, like, you know, you're a hardworking person that doesn't trust the banks and you want to keep your money cash that you worked for. Oh, well, we can seize more than $10,000 without even charging you, you know, like, and now what? Everybody keeps their money in the banks. Now they're talking about not even having cash. Like, it's all just going to be, you know, like, it's all control. And we saw that with the pandemic. And, you know, like, I'm not, we could go that far. We could turn this into a conspiracy podcast. I'm not going all the way to say like everything was masterminded, whatever. Yeah. All I'm saying is like, it was a situation where those evil authoritarian types tried to seize control. Yeah. Whether they caused it, whether whatever, we'll probably never know all the answers. But what we know is like, anytime there's an avenue, predators are going to try and get to the prey, you know? Yeah. And I just feel like, you know, our grandparents, our parents, when they were young, people kept their money cash and they had gold and silver and they'd put some of it in the bank, you know? And then they got us convinced we got to keep all our money in the bank. And all these banks, if you know anything about how banks loan out their money and gamble with their money, none of this, it's like maybe like 1 to 5% is like backed by actual currency. It's so overextended.
You know about Silicon Valley Bank? Like,
that like, wasn't that connected with the Bankman-Fried guy, like the FTX?
Not really. I mean, it's all connected because of it. Like, if you draw a big enough circle, it's connected. But
I thought they had invested in FTX or something.
Maybe that,
because that's like
not really. Okay, it was with it's mainly. I'm not a fucking financial dude, so if legit call me out in the comments if I say
and if we have any really good CPAs that are like Better Call Saul status, like hit us up. Yeah, we could both use one of those.
But like they invested in something where the interest was affected by inflation, and when inflation jumped up, those investments got fucked up. Yeah, and because they over fucking extended, like you said. They fucking had less capital in their whatever wheelhouse than people had invested into the bank. And then there was a run on the bank.
Yep.
'Cause people are like, yo, I want my money now.
happens
'cause I'm
every
worried
time.
you don't have it. And then they fucking went under, dude.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. I wish people would get paid, take it out of the bank, and keep it in cash. And if enough people did that,
Or crypto.
or crypto, there you go. If it's a good crypto,
Yeah.
fuck the NFTs.
Monero. Monero for the win, yo.
Yeah. Hell yeah. We got to talk about that.
we-
Not
oh,
on
we-
the
we-
podcast.
yeah.
We'll talk about that another time.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
We've only got so many rabbit holes.
Yeah.
We started this thing a little bit late.
Yeah, for real.
But dude, yeah, we could do this anytime.
Yeah,
Talk for
I'll have you back
100
for sure.
hours straight, you know. But no, I do believe that cash is king.
Cash is king.
And it's how people in the lower and middle class hustle their way out of poverty, you know? And it's not that you're laundering money. I'm not necessarily talking about that. I'm just saying if you want to start a fruit stand, you know, if you want to sell personal things to your people, you know, or sell things on Marketplace or whatever.
Yeah.
There's it's getting to the point now where like you saw what they did with the $600 transfers, with Cash App and stuff. Now if you have you get more than $600, you've got to report that, and they got to make sure you paid your taxes on it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And if you have cash saved up and they feel like it, they can seize it and say we're doing an investigation, and we might charge you. So this is now evidence. You know, there's just, and now they're talking about get rid of the cash entirely. It's I don't know. I'm a huge believer in freedom, and freedom only matters if people have the freedom to disagree with you, you know, if people that you don't necessarily agree with,
100%,
because otherwise it's not freedom. If everybody has to agree on shit and have all the same opinions, I don't know. I thought we were over
Sounds
this.
like the gulags to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds like the gulags.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Where you get to listen to that drip drop for 24/7 and that's it. And you know, I feel like what's happened, and we can kind of get back to fighting or whatever, but just to wrap it up, because I love geopolitics.
Yeah, now we can go in.
I don't want to make it too political.
Maybe we'll come back to it. But
sure, sure. I used to look at it kind of don't you motherfuckers realize how important this shit is? I was one of those guys who was just kind of you're right to vote, and these people they're fucked up, but it's because we're letting them be fucked up. And I used to just and I realized a couple years ago geopolitics, even just domestic politics, let alone all the politics of all the other countries and our history with them and military exceptions and but just geopolitics, or even our own politics. I think it's like sports. It's you can have the opinion where you're don't you realize how important baseball is? This is our national sport, and there used to be a baseball diamond in every town, and it goes back this far, and it was the first sport to get incorporated with black people, and it's but if somebody's not into baseball, the more you're telling them how important baseball is, makes them fucking hate you. Yeah. And it makes, you know what I mean? And it makes them feel I fucking hate baseball too. Take your baseball somewhere else, you know?
For real.
And unfortunately, as important as I feel it is, politics is like that too.
Yeah.
If somebody's not into it.
It's not even just politics. It's even like you said, geopolitical, and even I'll take it a step further and say one super duper important thing to me is our right to privacy.
Yes,
and
the fourth.
Oh my God, dude! And it's it's one of these things,
especially with the online. And I know you're into the hacking, so that's.
Dude, we can rabbit hole that. But
I see where this is going.
I'm gonna cut it at the knees. And
that's what gives me so much hope, is that the hackers feel that way. I'm somebody's watching out for us. Yeah,
there's some smarter people than me out there, thank God, that feel the same way. And I give them money when I can. Support free and open source software.
Bitcoin.
Yeah. Usually Monero if I can. But anyway.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, what was I saying? I don't know what else.
Sorry, we went down 3 rabbit holes there in 10
seconds.
the
right to privacy, right? So I deliver my discussions on privacy with as much tact as I possibly can.
Sure.
Like I'm telling a business that I lost their money type of tact. Like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, like I know you invested $1,000, we lost like half of it. I'm talking to you like, look, we have a vested interest in this.
Yeah.
This is delicate, and I know you don't take your passwords that seriously. I know you're using the same password for 8 sites.
Yeah.
Both of them, and the same password for your bank and email probably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, look, like it's not just you. If you're crazy, if you think it's just you, but there's better ways, and I can show you. I'd love to show you. It's an awkward thing to talk about, of course. Like to see how a hacker does it. And I'm with so much tact. I love to have these conversations with people because I used to be like, dude, fuck Mark Zuckerberg. Like, I mean, I still am. I would totally fight Mark Zuckerberg.
Wasn't Tom the original one?
The MySpace?
MySpace dude?
I don't give a shit about Tom.
I wonder what he's doing nowadays.
Yeah, probably has a fucking island, dude. He sold MySpace.
Maybe.
And
he sold it to Justin Timberlake, didn't he? I think
there
was a couple people that bought it.
That's true. But
I think Justin Timberlake bought it. It was
like
a couple people invested
I believe
in
you.
it.
You're saying it. There's crazier shit has happened.
We
this
need
year.
to bring Tom back.
Yeah.
Everything was fine until Zuckerberg took over.
Yeah, man.
And then Tom was like, I don't agree with how this is going. I need to get out of the game.
Yeah.
What a successful entry and exit.
Yeah.
Has anybody
honestly,
ever done it better than MySpace Tom?
I'm sure. Let me think of an example of someone who might have done it.
You'd be hard pressed.
Cleaner in and out.
He's right up there.
Yeah. Give me a second. I'll come up with one.
Steve Jobs.
No.
That wasn't very clean. Yeah.
He came back.
He got butt cancer.
So
didn't he?
yeah, that's right. Oh my God, dude.
Butt cancer is the worst.
There's a funny ass meme I saw the other day where it's like, I don't know, someone he was working close with had the same blood type as him, and he had to get like, I don't know, let's, for the sake of this, like I'm making a joke. I know butt cancer is serious, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Anyone that has
anyone that has butt cancer, I hope
cheers.
nothing but the best for you. Yeah.
For real, like,
yeah, for real.
You have a rough life, and I hope you laugh.
Butt
at this
cancer is just like, those two words together are inherently funny.
Yeah.
It's not that anything about the butt cancer is funny.
But when you put two words
it's
like
when
that
you
together.
put butt and cancer together. I mean, butt and most things together.
Yeah.
But,
really,
yeah.
But there's this thing. It's like it's like the other dude was like, I have a kidney, I'll give it to you. And Steve Jobs was like, no, like I don't want the kidney. And then he died or whatever, right? And then like the top comment was like, Steve Jobs died as he lived, unwilling to allow third-party integration.
There you go.
So
man,
it's like, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if I would agree for Steve Jobs. I'll say one.
He definitely stood up for that in his life, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's
big
something
proponent
I disagree. I'm not a big fan of that. A proprietary, not always the best.
Even
and
your
also,
charging cord.
Yeah, and it's like green wall. All right, we'll go on. We'll riff on Apple for a minute.
Rip on them. Rip them.
So I don't hate. I used to be like, oh, Android or whatever. Like no, it's like they're both bad. In fact, I looked at this 5 minutes ago when we were talking about the authoritarian stuff, and now I'm gonna make an action item on it. You see this phone right there?
This one.
Grab that phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of sticky. Give me it really quick. So, this is I don't know how the fuck this podcast with an MMA fighter got here, but we're gonna go into this.
Yeah.
So this is called a Pine phone, and this is a little project that I have right now.
Oh.
But if we look at the
Did you make that?
I did not make it.
Oh,
But
okay.
I mean, what's cool about this specific phone is that it's very customizable. When's the last time you saw a phone that had a removable back and removable battery?
The
right?
Razor.
Like when's the last time you seen that? Right? Long time.
Flipped open. Yeah.
But right above the SD card, if you look really closely, take a look at that. We're not going to riff on this too long. I just.
It's like a little circuit board or like a little.
They're dip switches. Yeah. So that allows you to turn on and off different components of the phone, such as the cellular modem. Well, it's there's hardware cutoff switches. So like on your Android or your iPhone, you can turn off Bluetooth, you can turn off Wi-Fi. But if a hacker gets access to it, I can just make it look like you did that. And I still have a rootkit that lets me take control of the phone. You can't do that. Like all right, we're going conspiracy time, right? So like I cover the cameras on my phone with stickers because I know about this stuff.
Not a bad
And it's
idea.
not even
Yeah.
it's not, and the reason is because like if you do get access to my camera, Instagram, or any website that asks for camera access, and I accidentally am drunk and hit yes, you get that access without a malware, right? So if I cover it, it gets this. It's like, oh, Josiah, you want to take a picture really quick? All right, 1, 2, 3. Oh, that was less than 5 seconds. Let's take a picture.
Yeah.
Doom. And then
Yeah.
All right, back.
Yeah, but now did you hear where they're able to use the Wi-Fi routers to like make an image?
Yeah,
of the people in the room?
This is a very, very interesting thing that I'm not going to go too ham on because it uses very specific technologies and it's crazy. If this is an interesting thing, right? Like at the end of the day, I'll end my crazy hacker rant on this note. This is a crazy podcast.
Keep it going, dude.
But I'll end it on this note, right? Like, as far as like, are you vulnerable to being hacked? Yes, everyone, right?
Sure.
But to what extent, right? So if you want 100% security on your computer, the way you do that is you don't have a computer.
Yeah.
Right? That's
yeah.
how that's
yeah.
100, right? That's 100% secure. How do I secure my contacts on my phone? Like let me give you an example. Have you ever been called by anyone asking you about your car's extended warranty?
Somehow I haven't, but I've gotten so many other calls.
Like spam calls,
yeah.
right? So,
and some of them it's crazy because I block the number and then the same person calls me back.
Yeah.
From like 10 different numbers.
Yeah.
And it's this dude. It's not like it's like, you know, sometimes you get the Indian ones.
Yeah.
And you're like, this could be a whole call center kind of thing or whatever. It's the same dude talking about like the Fraternal Order of Police.
Oh,
whatever.
Yeah.
You ever get that one?
I've gotten the cop ones.
Yeah.
Well, here's what happens, right?
Yeah.
Let's say, for instance, you're my friend, and I'm not going to accuse you of
hypotheticals.
Yeah,
purely hypothetical.
Allegedly, I have a different friend named Josiah, and he has his contacts in his phone, and he also has TikTok installed on his phone. And TikTok takes every right you can possibly give it. It takes.
I've heard that.
It takes your contact list. It takes your Wi-Fi permissions and things like that. Why does that matter? Because then it can see anything on any Wi-Fi network that you go to. So that's why I don't let people get on the Wi-Fi at my house. Because if you do, now anyone that can geolocate that IP sees every device in my house. And if you're a hacker, you can cross-reference that list of devices to vulnerable devices.
Yeah.
And
I do not have TikTok.
I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm just saying. But you know, there's a lot of apps like this, right? So
yeah.
But the first thing I said was contact list, right? You're giving TikTok that contact list. They can sell that contact list if they want to. It's in their terms and services that they can do whatever they want with it. Or maybe they have dog shit cybersecurity, and anyone that hacks them now has everyone's contact list.
This is like what Edward Snowden was talking
100%.
about. You know,
but here's what it comes down. But here's what
data.
it comes down to. Like, this is the phone that I leave social media on. Like anyone that sees me out, this is my social media phone. The phone you see me use all day is not this phone.
Yeah.
And that's because I don't want to give my contact list to apps. I only keep like very specific things on my phone. That's my daily driver. And I'm going to end my rant there. If you guys want to hear more, suggest a hacker for me to have on. So every
website, everything wants all these permissions now.
Yeah, 100%. And the problem is people aren't aware of it, and it's the reason that I'm so
not even that. I feel like
it is.
They don't even feel like they have a choice. You know, like they don't even realize there's another way you could do it.
Yeah,
you know?
or they're too lazy.
Yeah,
you know,
or that.
And I don't blame them. They got other shit going on in their lives.
Sure,
way harder shit in their lives. Like I'm one of the only people I know that does a lot of the things that I do. Like on my downtime, I play with fucking like crazy open source phone designs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like. This is crazy stuff that I get into, and it's what I choose to do instead of watching Netflix or like, you know, fucking subscribing to people's OnlyFans or whatever people do today. But you know what I mean? Like and I still deal with problems. Like one of the main reasons I export everything off besides the things I've said is also like an added benefit that I didn't see in the beginning was like, oh, like my social media addiction is not nearly as bad as it was when it was all in my pocket.
When you got to go to a different
time. You know
device
to
check it.
Yep. Yeah. It's more inconvenient, which means it's like if you don't have cigarettes, you can't smoke.
Sure.
You're on the way to, you know, getting out of that already by not having it. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's talk about fighting.
can talk about anything, bro.
Great
It's always
You're a great conversation.
We
so
can
far,
dig
though.
into
I
any
know,
topic,
dude.
and
You're
it'll
very
be-
easy to talk to. So thank
I
you.
like
for that.
talking, and some people, it's like something I've never been able to control.
Yeah.
I'll just keep talking, and some people
Just
it's like
riffing on it.
great, and some people just can't stand it. And
Yeah.
I've learned to just bite my tongue in certain scenarios, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, whenever I meet a like-minded
Yeah.
soul who I can just like let it all out, it's like
let's see how much
yeah,
we can riff
how much
on,
time
like,
do you have? Yeah, we can talk for 6 hours straight and still feel like, oh, there's like 30 different things I didn't even get to finish what I was saying on.
We're gonna
you
definitely
know?
text each other later. It happens all the time where it's
Yeah.
like people are like, oh, I forgot to fucking bring this up.
And
Or
then
I'll
there's
text them.
little Easter eggs where people
Yeah.
can watch and then be like, hey, you didn't answer this, and then that's a
Yeah.
question for the next time. You
Exactly.
know. So speaking of questions, though, we did have.
Yeah, the Instagram
We
questions.
should do that. We'll
Yeah,
do
let's
that,
do
and
that.
then that'll
Great segue.
segue
Great
back
segue.
into yeah.
Awesome. Yep. So we got a couple Instagram. I'm gonna just refresh my Instagram really quick just to make sure I'm
Hey,
not.
happy New Year's Eve, by
yeah,
the way.
cheers,
dude.
sir.
This is the next to the last day of 2023.
Episode 99, dude. And
Episode
Fury
99.
Grappling's going on. You have any friends on that? I see. Like
I
a
don't
lot
think
of-
I have any on this one. No. Sometimes I think Cody from my gym and
my coach won. Andrew Cockle wins.
nice.
So congrats,
Here's to
coach.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Cheers to Andrew.
Cheers, mate.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, all right. Let's see. What do we got for
I'm drinking
questions?
that Dirt Wolf, bro.
You.
It's like 3 beers in one.
All right, we got a question from an awesome 10th Planet friend of mine in Texas. And his question for you, Josiah, is what was your most important fight in terms of overcoming adversity during said fight? I want to say, man, dude, like that last Alex Komatic fight you just had at Art of War 33 went the distance, dude.
Yeah. Honestly, that's
It's
a
a
really
tough
that's a
one to
hard one to
answer.
answer because I think each one of my fights, I've only had 4, you know.
Yeah.
I'm on a 3-fight win streak. The first fight was pretty close. Each fight has had different adversities, right?
Yeah.
Like the first one, it's hard to get harder than the first one. 'Cause you're just
Yeah.
like, you don't know anybody. You're not really like, I had gone to some shows in the past. I had some teammates that competed, but like,
It's a new adversity.
it's totally
almost.
different.
Yeah.
Everything's new.
Mhm.
And you're and I got super tired. And I was
Yeah,
doing like
first round gas, that adrenaline
like
dump hit
yeah, getting up for the second round like and then third round like almost like seeing double, like
Yeah.
tired. And
Yeah.
excuse me, I spent 30 minutes after that fight just like with this exertion headache, just so bad behind my eyes. And that was like one of the only times I took an Advil. I was just like,
Yeah.
I'll drink some water, sip on the Advil, take the Advil, sip on some liquid IV or whatever. And I came back around. They were all like worried I had a concussion. I was just like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm just got a
I
headache
just
right
have
now.
not
just
pushed the
give me a
machine this
minute.
hard.
Yeah. And so much of that, because then that was kind of a mental. I was like, because I literally did 30 minutes straight on the Versa climber before that. I was like, I was kind of feeling like I don't know how I could.
That's the shit where like it matches your speed, right? Like how fast you go is how fast it like descends or whatever.
No, that it's like a big kind of like a shaft with like 2 pedals for your feet and 2 handles,
okay. I
and
think
they
I've seen
move
it
close
before. I
to
never
each.
used
They
it
move,
before, though. Yeah.
so it's like climbing.
Yeah.
It's verse climber.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, I did 30 minutes straight on that, and like I remember I would do 20 minutes straight and do a whole jiu-jitsu tournament, IBJJF, and like felt like I used to be like smoking cigs and like, dude, the last time I competed, I won double gold, and I went out because my professor at the time smoked, and I went out between winning no-gi gold in my weight class, smoked a cig, came back in, did the absolute, and like submitted 3 guys for the absolute. It was
fucking great.
so like I used to run it a little closer to the rails. Kind
Yeah.
of thing. I give myself much more of a cushion now because I take it really seriously.
Yeah.
And not that I didn't take that seriously, but it was a different culture, you know. And so I'll say that the first fight, I was proud of my performance, but it left me feeling like, what do I need to do to not feel this tired? So honestly, between my first and second fight was a huge adversity because I was like, I'd never want to feel like that again. And I was pretty sure it was just because it was the first time.
Yeah.
It's just the adrenaline dump. I knew I've had adrenaline dumps a million times. I knew it was coming, but you still kind of feel
you
like
can't do anything about it, right? It's a chemical thing.
Yeah, to some extent. Yeah. So
it's the same thing. Like even when I perform on stage, like
I'm sure.
It's interesting because I think it helps for competing in anything because it's like, well, I know what I like. Well, when I play a big show, I'll like take a shot or drink a beer.
Yeah,
and it takes the edge off.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, dude, you gotta know how your body and mind works.
And the only way to do that is just doing it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Like you can cross train, you can spar, you can sprint, you can do your assault bike, you can do all that stuff, and that's all important stuff.
Yeah.
But none of that is really gonna mimic, and that's how I've always tried to take like the Goku mindset.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, I want to fight the best fighters because that is the best training. You know, like I hope these other fighters at the World Martial Arts Tournament have been training real hard the past year because like I've been training hard and I want to test myself. And if I get beat, it's gonna be an awesome show for the fans.
Yeah.
If I get beat, I know in my heart I couldn't have really done anything else.
Yeah.
Not without it being counterproductive. Like you can always do more, you know, but you got to be balanced and you got to have flow too. So I always look at it like that, where I'm like, my biggest fear was never losing. I've been a loser. I've lost many times. My biggest fear was training for all these years and never actually getting in the cage and always having a reason why I wasn't ready, you know? So first fight went kind of like that. Made really good friends with Christian Hannigan, my opponent. I've gone out to Grindhouse at least like 5 or 6 times to train now.
Nice.
Really good people. Jerry and Matt and Sean Stefanelli and all those people were just awesome. My second fight was like a month and a half after that, and I took it the day of the weigh-ins. So that was a weird adversity, but it was also like I didn't put any pressure on myself because I was like, everyone's expecting me to lose. Like, I'm just showing up, proving that I'm always ready, proving that, you know, that I just got in there and I lost and it didn't destroy me and I'm going to get back in here.
Yeah,
and
it doesn't matter.
And I won that one. And then my third fight was probably the least amount of pressure because, like, he was like 19 and he's a D3 wrestler, so he's a good wrestler. But I knew he's like a white belt or a blue belt. I think he's a white belt. And, you know, fairly minimal striking. So, but still, it's always a roll of the dice.
So you were 1-1, and he was 0-0. It was his debut.
Yeah, they kind of threw me a bone.
Yeah,
for that one.
What's your opinion on that? Do you think like 1-1, that experience is vastly valuable to?
Oh, for sure. But
0-0?
my first fight, Christian was 1-0. You know, so it was like, or he might have even been 2-0. So it was like, and that kind of goes back to like what I said earlier about people coming at it with the attitude like everyone works for you. Like, you need to pay your dues. You need to prove yourself, and you need to be.
I hate shit where that's not the case.
Yeah,
where you don't need to pay dues. Ugh.
It's not even worth doing. You know.
Yeah, man.
But like the fight game is like, show up, don't be a bitch, and people are gonna notice. And and that's what I love about MMA. To be honest, is like boxing. As soon as you lose one time, you're like, well, he's never going to be this guy. Well, he can never be, you know, and you can kind of rebuild it if you get on a 2, 3, 4, 5 fight tear. But like MMA, dude, like I said, my favorite fighter's always been Clay Guida. And it's like his last fight, he lost a 29-28. And he went out there, lost the first round. Second round, got some big takedowns. The crowd's going, Guida, Guida. Third round, lost it. And, like, everybody loves him. Yeah. And Dana's like, you always got a fucking spot. Like, whatever. You can build your fan base. He's pivoted. I don't know if you know this, but him and Chad Mendez run a hunting guide company.
Dude, that's badass.
So they do guided hunts. Dude, they actually have a helicopter pig hunt. You shoot pigs out of a helicopter.
How much is that shit, bro?
It's only like $4 or $5K. Like, it's not that much. Like, it's not like you're.
Is that the javelinas in Texas? Is that where it is?
I mean, they're boars. I don't think it's just javelinas. It's mostly the boars that are the wild boars.
Yeah.
But
where is it? In Texas?
I think most of it's Texas. I think he lives. I
know there's a lot.
I think Chad lives in Texas, and Clegg lives in California. I think. Well, I don't know, because I think they're both part of Uriah Faber's. What's that gym? Uriah Faber and like
I know who Uriah is, but I don't know
TJ Dillashaw left it, and then they like hated each other for a long time.
I don't even know.
And then they made up or whatever. But it's like there's a lot of killers out there. It's Uriah's gym, and I think that's where they both still train. But they do the hunting guided tours, and then they do deep sea fishing. And cool. So it's like. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, things that like
awesome.
I can talk to anybody that I bond with, and like the coolest thing is when you find two people that know how to be present and like make any situation fun. You know what I mean? Because like you can do anything.
It's the best thing to travel with,
and it's a trust thing too. Yeah, exactly. It's traveling. And even traveling locally, if you hang out, I'm sure we all have family members. Yeah. We love them, but it's like a labor of love. Yeah. And it's like every time you spend time with them, you feel drained, you know? And then there's those people where it's like, damn, I could literally hang out with them for hours. Yeah. And I leave, and I'm like, we're like leaving. I'm like kind of known for this. Yeah. We're like leaving, and we say bye like 10 times. Yeah. And we're like in the parking lot and like still yelling to each other. And that's like, okay, all right, get home safe. All right, I'll see you.
I've had so many jiu-jitsu sessions like that, dude.
Dude, yeah, I've literally stayed after a PM class one time. I talked to a buddy until like 11 o'clock. And the class ended at like 7:30 or something. We were like, oh shit, we've been here for like 3 hours. And just, I don't know, like what I love is that I have all of these conversations with everybody. Yeah. And we're just lay people. Mm-hmm. The first time in history, our government's been shiesty the way they've always been. Big corporations, shiesty the way they've always been. But people that care to look, like just us lay people. Yeah. Just random guys. We're not in positions of power. We're not like higher ups in anything. No. And we see what's going on. Yeah. We don't know all the details. You never know everything, but we see what's going on.
Yeah, and you can act accordingly. Yeah. You know? You can, like, I think the biggest thing for me, just like, oh man, we're going back down the fucking rabbit hole, bro.
Oh, it's okay. Go.
The biggest thing for me is like, don't buy shit on Amazon. Buy it from the local shop.
Especially now that they do so much drop shipping. Yeah, man. Like everything isn't even sold by Amazon anymore.
You vote with your money more than you do with your words. Like I don't, dude. I look like if I see someone do something with their money and it contradicts what they say, like you were talking about, like you don't trust somebody. That's a big red flag for me. Yep. It's like, damn, dude. Like I thought you said you don't like that, but now you just gave Jeff Bezos $100.
Yep. Yeah.
Doesn't add up.
Yeah, no, I don't ever use Amazon anymore. I mean, maybe occasionally.
If I need to, I will. Like people give me an Amazon gift card. Like it's like, sure, well, I'm gonna use this.
And if it says sold and and shipped by Amazon, yeah, I might do that on occasion. But all this other shit that's like supplied by some other, you know, and like people will like. There's how many people influencers nowadays literally have their drop shipping masterclass. Yeah. And they're literally like, I make $150K a year, and all I do is I have an Alibaba account and an Amazon account, and I have this app that tells me what things are going for and what's got the biggest split, and I just buy that off Alibaba and ship it straight to my Amazon sales, and I don't even take possession of it. And like it's like they're proud of it. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's a lucrative hustle, but you are like the shiestiest person, dude. Like, yeah, it's like I know people that do the fucking Amway and stuff. Oh, dude, I got roped into that like 10 years ago. I was like an upper age teenager. I got roped in. I got doing the house meetings. Some of those did you? Yeah, you're at the house meetings like looking around like, yeah, we're changing the world. Yeah. And then a month later, you're like, I'm the biggest fucking idiot I've ever met.
Well, you know, I could be wrong about the number, but like, you know, like it only, if every single person on the planet did it, right? Because it's you, and then you need to get like whatever 3 to 5 people in.
Right.
It only goes 27 levels before you have all 6 or 7 billion people on the planet. Only 27 levels of factors. Like that's how factors.
But somehow
work.
it always stalls out on that second or third level.
Yeah,
it's like you
dude.
just can't get past it for some reason, and you got to turn yourself into this like sales gremlin where you're just like, yeah. I know
just
some
don't
people
wanna sell
that
my
that
soul
used to
to
do
it,
that kind
man.
of stuff, and they actually like kind of switched it up, and now they
Yeah.
sell like life insurance and like
Yeah.
just teach other people, and it's like kind of the same type of sales thing, but like they're at least just like, we will fucking help you get your state license for free. And then if you want to like work with us, it just helps us having people that know what they're doing that we can work with. Like, and there's no subscription. There's no like product you have to buy. Like I actually, oh man, 10 years ago, I got my life insurance license and like was this close to working at an agency.
Yeah.
And
That's funny.
it did not work out. It
Yeah,
was so
I
bad,
feel
dude.
that.
It was in the worst part of Harrisburg. And we're like in Harrisburg, and there's like an alarm going, like a fire alarm chirping, and this person's sitting there like they don't want us in their house.
Yeah,
and I'm just like,
that's
why
so
are we
funny.
here, bro?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sitting in your house. You're acting like I forced my way in.
Yeah,
I'm
for
like,
real.
do you want a policy or not?
Yeah.
Like, that's how I sell. Like, you want it? No?
All right.
Cool. I'm
I
not going
don't
to
wanna
sit here
waste
and
my
like,
time.
well, how about, well, what if I just badger you until you realize the only way you're going to get me out of your house is just by like putting your card information
Yeah,
in. Like,
for
I can't
real.
live like that, bro.
Nah.
It's like the antithesis of everything I stand for.
Right.
Like, I'm about being present and creating genuine connections with people.
Yeah,
And like
dude.
sales is like
The
literally the
opposite.
opposite of that. Like, you couldn't get further away from
Yeah,
that.
man.
Except maybe like serial killing or
Yeah.
something. I don't know. Like, there's always something. But like, as a personality, as a hustle,
Yeah.
it's the worst.
No, I feel that. I think, but yeah, like one of the things, just going back to like the Amazon thing, that I'd like to end on this sentiment for that is like buy used things. Like most of the thing, like
Or steal them.
dude.
No, I'm just
no, you're an asshole. But dude, like most of this music equipment here, I got used. In fact, every single one of them I did, and they're all premium things. It's
You
like,
probably paid 50% of what you would have paid new.
that's my goal usually, to get
yeah.
half or less. These bongos I got at a Goodwill for $10. They're $100 bongos, dude. It's like, dude, like for real, man. Like you gotta like, cause then like who's getting the money, right? Like it's a thrift store's getting it, and if it's a thrift store that's like got like a Christian message, or like Goodwill where it's like we're helping the community. Yeah, the CEO makes fucking 7 figures. Okay, that sucks, but like some of that money is going directly toward like local community shit.
Sure.
So like there's part of me that's like, man, that's, there's still corruption and power are this, right? Like if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, so
anytime you have an institution.
Yeah. Anytime I can take away from the billionaires and give to the millionaires, it's like, this kind of sucks. I'd love to give it to the thousandaires.
Yeah.
Or the people like
Or
living
the
on the
paycheck
street.
to paycheckers.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'd love to do that, but realistically, like a lot of the things I need to do is like support the people locally. And that's do that, people.
No,
Do
and I
that.
think that's how
do that.
I agree. Do it. Don't think about it.
Just do it, man.
do
You
it.
vote with your money, man. You vote with your money more than you do.
Well, and
with
that's how.
anything
That's
else.
honestly the key to all of our problems, right? And the Amish proved that, and that's
No
why it's really cool. My girl works with the Amish. She's a midwife, and like I've worked with Amish in the past. And the thing with the Amish is like they have a religious side to it, but more than that, they're landowners. They have savings, and they grow their own food.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw with I mean, you don't really have Amish around here, but like in Lancaster County, they couldn't do shit for COVID because they couldn't threaten anything. Like they would try, stores would,
so funny,
dude, it was so funny. The funniest shit was going to Costco.
Yeah.
And you'd go to Costco and dude, like literally the first week when they were doing the fucking 15 days to slow the spread, I do have to say, like, not to toot my own horn, but like I was one of the only people I know where I was like, this is it. There's no such thing as 15 days. And I know a lot of really good friends who are good people, and they kind of were just like, well, maybe I'm not buying into it, but like I'm gonna kind of sit back and see how this plays out. And I was like, no, there's no. I was like extremist as fuck. I was like, there's no sitting this one out. This is our economy. This is our society. This is our freedom. This is the First, Second, Third, Fourth Amendment.
Yeah,
like this.
dude. That's amazing.
And I was like, not for a second did they get me.
Yeah.
And like,
so you're telling me you're unvaccinated,
dude. I don't have any of my vaccines. None of them. I mean, I guess I did when I was younger. I don't know. But and I don't know. I think the idea of vaccines makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there's no way to do vaccines.
Idea, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And I also don't like how it's not even like you have to dig. It's clear as day if you go on their own websites that the regulatory agencies and our government or I should say the regulatory agencies in our government and the people working for these big corporations are the same people. Like they work for one, they work for the other, and they work for the other, and they go lobby, and then they go back to the pharmaceutical company, and they, like, so how could we ever trust them again if they don't change anything? Like they've proven that it's all based on their monetary incentive, and they will steamroll everybody to make as much money as possible, and then gaslight us as if like, well, we should have known better. Or like, well, we didn't actually force anybody to do any, like they're not your friends, And like I said, there's a lot of good people I know in the healthcare. There's a lot of good cops I know, but the institutions as a whole need to be shifted, because they've shifted into this power dynamic. And that's any institution, whether it's a church, whether it's a school, whether it's a gym. It's like once something is established and there's people that have positions of power because they're the pastor or the principal or the president or whatever, eventually, this could happen with kings too. How many times so-and-so ruled for 40 years and then his son was a piece of shit and then everybody started fighting over it. And, like inherently in the institutions, they kind of take on a life of their own, and they have like almost like their own life cycle. Like they want to survive, right? Like there's this, like, we got to keep the ball rolling. We got to keep the positions of power available, and what happens is, like I said, whether it's church, whether it's anything, so many times when it's been around long enough, somebody's toes get stepped on, and then the institution becomes about, well, we gotta protect the status quo. So we need to eliminate the people whose toes were stepped on, like get them out of here, like destroy them, And then I feel like where we're at now is we've gone a step past that, where instead of just not solving the problems, we're financially incentivized to create the problems, where we're like, not only am I going to kind of like not solve cancer and step out of this, like kind of stay on the sideline and do chemo and do all this shit that's terrible for you and like doesn't actually solve it, when we have like decades worth of research that we buy and hide, like now we're going to actually go one step further and like try and cause cancer in different ways. You know what I mean? Like that concept of like, you see it over and over again, like a church, somebody gets abused by a priest or something. And then they have a choice. They either stand up for the people that they pretend to represent, or they kind of sweep it under the rug, have as minimal blowback as possible, get past it, ship this person over somewhere else where they don't know him, and just like business as usual. And that's where we're at with the government right now. And that's where we're at with the society. But I keep coming back. I'm like, but I have these conversations with everybody I know, almost without exception. We all see what's going on. And I feel like what's happened is in the past, liberals, right? And we're both like libertarians. So like we've talked about how like we can shit on anybody. Like I can hang out with my liberal friends and be like, yeah, the fucking Republicans suck dick. All they want to do is go to war and not let people abort their babies or whatever, and you go over here, you're just like, yeah, the fucking liberals suck. They're fighting about all these social issues that don't mean anything and destroying our military scheme, right? And like just both sides. I'm just like, yeah, that side sucks, because I genuinely feel like almost, other than Ron Paul, everybody in our government sucks. Rand is okay. He's not his dad, but and may or may not be an actual doctor. You know? But I just feel like where we're at now gives me so much hope, because like people like us see what's going on, and like I think like I said in the past, just before I forget, like historically, liberals will they'll stand up against big corporations, because big corporations don't care about you and they're evil, right?
Yeah.
And they're dumping their shit in the rivers, you know? And then, but they'll stand up for big government, because big government is how we enact social change, right?
Yeah.
Well, then we have the conservatives. The conservatives hate big government. Don't tread on me, motherfucker, you know? But they'll stand up for big business, because that's capitalism. That's the American dream, you know? And we've gotten to the point now where it's like, it's literally a circle jerk of power we're not invited to. It doesn't matter if big business owns the big government or big government owns the big business. It's the same end result. Yeah. And it's cronyism. And it creates a marketplace where, you know, like more and more we're seeing the lower classes are squeezed by the upper classes. It used to be like, well, a strong middle class is better for the upper class. You know, it used to be like, we don't want to destroy the middle and lower class. We want to control them, but we don't want to destroy them, because like all these millions
class needs things to rule.
Yeah, and things to rule and people to buy the things you're selling, you know? And now I feel like we're in like the end phase of something. I genuinely believe we're going to hit a renaissance. I think AI, we're still worrying about it as a weapon, but dude, like AI, when it comes to like starting your business, when it comes to like just right now, the capabilities we have right now, doing a podcast, connecting with people on the other side of the world, you know, like learning a new language, learning music, GPS, like 99% of stuff that technology has brought us is beneficial. We just don't use it that way all the time. And we're the first generation. We saw an analog world. Yeah. We grew up where TVs were made out of wood and you fucking put a lamp on top of it. You know what I mean? Like, remember that shit? Yeah. And they were just like, there were no TV stands.
Tube. They called it a tube.
It was a wooden in it. Yeah. And you'd have to crawl up to it to change the channel, and you had like 5 channels, you know, and they all slapped. Yeah. You know? For real. Yeah.
I don't know, man. You definitely romanticize the past a lot, but I think like local government is like local is important. Local is so important to people, and I think that like what a lot of people struggle, like you were saying, like, oh, you know, you talk to anyone and they agree, but it's like a theme that I find is like, well, what can I do about it? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And you need to choose to do something about it. It's just like jiujitsu or any like martial art pursuit or music, dude. It's like, well, dude, like, yeah, I'll use music because it's probably more, there's more guitarists than there are MMA fighters out there. So I'll use music.
Yeah.
So like, let's use music, right? It's like, man, I got, like, what can I do? Like, I'll never be like a rock star. Well, dude, like, do you know your pentatonic scale? Okay, you do. Do you know your natural minor? Well, learn about those sevenths, man. Like, figure that out.
Yeah.
You know, like,
now all of a sudden a whole new genre opened up just with one skill.
Exactly, dude. Like, there's little things you can do. Figure out, like, what do you have? What are you a professional at, right? Like,
right.
Like, okay, like I'll keep with the music theme. Like, man, the music scene sucks. Like, what can I do about it? Well, for one, I can stop playing for this venue that makes me pay to play. Yeah. Right? There you go. Even though they're having really cool big acts come through. I actually have a story that I will tell. I won't. Fuck it, I will.
Tell it, brother.
All right. So, venue.
This is your mic. Yeah. You can say anything you want into it.
This is my show. Yeah. So there's a venue in Reading called Reverb, and I remember I was in a band with my friend Nick and Ryder and Joe on bass for this band Scarlet Moon, and played some awesome shows. One of my favorite times with them was we opened up for Devil Driver, and that was a great festival. And you know, we kicked ass. You had to sell a ton of tickets. We couldn't, like, I think we ended up selling them all, but it's like what you sold them for $25 a pop. And you, as the band, got $1 per ticket.
Wow.
So we had to sell, I think, 50 of those for $25 a piece, and then sold them, and then we made $50. And it was like, that's bullshit.
Yeah,
Because
dude.
every other band on the bill, and it was a festival, had to do this. And I'll bet you the big band didn't need to do that at all. Anyway, so we stopped doing that. We were like, well, we're just gonna like we were a great band. Like we draw decently as well, and like we had great music. Like we were tight, and we had a fun gimmick on stage. Like we did weird shit. Like like I actually played in booty shorts the one show. It's like just because like I was kind of like making fun of the local metal scene in a way where they were like just like really like I don't want to say like homophobic, but it's like they're too like manly type shit. And I was just like, dude, like.
We only let it out in the mosh pit.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Like, yeah, it's like, dude, this is a fucking meme. So I had pink booty shorts. And I played a show with those that I got from my boys over in Vitruvia, who for some reason have pink booty shorts at their merch stand. Anyway, so
shout out Truvia.
Yeah, but so we told the promoter. He's like, yeah, you know, like we're not going to sell any more tickets, but if you need someone to play, we'll play for free. So no effort for us. We just need to focus on doing music, and we get to play at the big venue in town. And they were like, "No, there's no way." A week goes by. Yeah, hey, you guys still want to do this show? Like, they caved. So it's like, dude, you can do shit, man. Like, there's power in numbers.
Power in
dude.
purchasing.
Yep.
Your purchasing power is, it seems like inconsequential or not substantial.
Yeah.
But look what happened with organic food, dude. Like, you remember it was only 10 years ago when they were pushing the GMOs down our throat.
Yep.
And here's the thing. Does glyphosate cause cancer? I don't know. Is it super terrible for you? Maybe not. The bigger thing, like, they're so good with the straw man arguments, right? They get us arguing about shit that's not even the core issue, right? Like, so much of the GMO thing, it was like an ethical thing. It was like, should we be modifying genetics? And it was like a health thing of like, is glyphosate actually bad for you? And really, the problem with it was that they were able to patent seed, and they were able to patent this, and then they were able to get right, and they were able to get everybody growing it, and then they'd go to the neighbor next door that didn't want to grow it, and they'd find some in his field from cross pollination. And then they'd sue him until he grew it. And they were like, we have billions of dollars of lawyers on retainer. We can sue you into the ground. So that was the biggest problem, was like, you're creating a monopoly on growing food. And nobody talked about that, you know? But what happened? All of a sudden, people started buying organic.
Yeah.
And they're willing to pay 2 or 3 times as much, you know? And then what happened? In 5 years, Dannon and ConAgra and all these big companies start buying up the organic companies, you know? And that, to me, that just really showed how much power we have with our dollar, because it's like, one purchase might not seem significant, but if enough people that, I know somebody whose job is ordering food for a grocery store.
Interesting.
Really cool. And they constantly, it's for Amelia's, which is
I like Amelia's
grocery outlet bargain discount market or whatever.
Super ridiculous.
Worst rename ever. I still call it Amelia's.
Yeah.
And so they're always sending him to Chicago and California, and he's always going to these conferences with these vendors and everything. And he's kind of opened my eyes to like how that whole world works, you know? And the thing is, if you have like supermarkets depend on their core customers, the people that go there once or twice a week and buy like pretty much all their shit there, you know, and that's why they're starting to do gas rewards and stuff. They want to retain people. But if 10 of those people decide, I'm not buying this like super processed crap.
Yeah.
I don't think all processed food's bad. You need the good food too, you know, but if 10 people stop buying it and start putting their money into something else, and all of a sudden their sheet comes back and it's like, well, we lost 5,000 here and gained 5,000 here. The next time they order food, they're going to get more of the shit they're selling, you know? So like your purchasing power is significant, you know, and we're just, oh man, it's so exciting to feel like as a society, we're starting to like realize the power we have.
Yeah.
You know.
I think like let me ask your opinion on this. This has nothing to do with fucking MMA, Lamau. But what is your opinion on like a lot of these? Yeah, a lot of I mean, no, it's not MMA. But we can go to MMA after this, just because I want to riff on it. But like a lot of the things we're seeing now, with a lot of things going from like you buy a license and you own it, and now it's a lot of these companies are moving more toward the subscription model.
Well,
grab that mic. Closer?
Yeah, thanks. Well, I hate having to pay 50 subscriptions a month for all the stuff I want to access.
Yeah.
But I also understand this is how these companies get to put out the content they want sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
So
I'm talking more like fair enough for like the media stuff. I'm talking more about like shit that's let's go to the extremes, right? BMW making it a subscription, have heated seats.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Put that motherfucker against a wall and waste him. There's no way. Waste him, bro. Whoever came up with that idea is out. You're fired. No way, bro. You're going to make me pay extra for the seats to work?
That I own, right? That I paid for. The hardware to make the heated seats work is in the car I paid for. Oh my God. So this is something I detest. So this is something I'm really like against. And it's one of those things that like, what's another one? Like the satellite radio that always calls me. The fucking Sirius. It's like, dude, I'm not going to pay for the radio. You know what I mean? Like, are like the fact that business is still in business is insane to me, considering people have Spotify on their phone.
Yeah.
It's like, dude.
What I like about it is when I deliver new cars, they all have the Sirius.
Yeah.
And I'm like jamming to B.B. King's Bluesville and the Grateful Dead channel and the fucking Pearl Jam channel. And
what's the rock one? Octane or whatever?
Yeah.
I like that one.
Lithium.
Yeah, Lithium's
a good one.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, you're never going to catch me pay. I mean, if I have like millions of dollars, whatever, but
not even then, just the principle.
My grandparents were raised in the Depression, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like one of those guys that I got, I don't have like a ton of nice things, but the nice things I have, like I keep them nice.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm like that a lot myself. Well, it's interesting, actually. The nice things that I have, I'll talk about my guitars, right? So, like,
your baby's here.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, if you see me out at like at the Grape Room, the open mic that I've been going to in Manayunk, shout out to those guys, they're amazing. You'll see me. I have my guitar. I'll play a set. And then I'll like have it like it's a fucking axe, like, and I'm a dude. Like I'll sling it so it's on my back and it's just dangling.
Yeah.
Cause it's like, I paid really, really good money for that guitar. I got it custom made by Kiesel in California, and thank God for Black Friday because it didn't break the bank too bad. But it's my most expensive guitar. But it's also the guitar I use a lot. I don't abuse it. It's not like I'm fucking throwing it around the shoulder, but some dudes do that shit too. But it's like, this is a tool that I purchased to allow me to express myself.
Yeah.
And for it to do its job well, it needs to be one with me. This is like, I have a friend that I started shooting guns with him too. It's like, I used to take really excellent care of my Glock. Like, I can't never drop this. It's like, nah, dude, like you're going to drop your mags. Like, cause the training we're doing is like based on like war fighting. It's like, no, this shit's going to get bruised up a little bit. And
There's
that's
a balance there.
Well,
yeah.
that's how you know it's going to perform when you need it to.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's exactly what it comes down to. Now, with that said, there are precious things that I covet. You know what I mean? But they're not tools.
There's also
you know what I mean?
a difference between investing in physical assets that you maintain and keep them really nice, but yeah, I kind of agree with you. Like, there's a balance there. Like, you need to maintain your stuff, keep it nice. It's nice to have, even if you don't have a ton of money, everybody can have something they're into. Yeah.
But they should be used.
Right.
Be like, if you, like, you don't see like Arthur hanging up the sword. Like he's not hanging Excalibur up and saying, I better not fuck this up, dude. Let me go to the local blacksmith.
I'm gonna have some pitting in it.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that motherfucker used that thing. You know what I mean? So like, but he coveted it. I'm sure he sharpened it off frequently. You know what I mean?
You don't want to. I
this
think
is
that
the
too.
way.
I get like every like 5 or 10 years I buy shoes.
Yeah.
And I'll get like 10 pairs, and I'm like, I shoe shop.
Yeah.
You know, and I get them and I wear 2 of them, and then like a year later, those 2 are like my runaround shoes now, and I shuffle the other ones in, and they're like my going out to eat shoes.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I like
and
it.
then, but yeah, if you're not careful, it'll be like, well, I never wear my nice stuff, and then I have a nice occasion, and I'm like, well, but I don't want to wear it for this because then I'll go out to eat and I'll get something on it this time.
Yeah,
and then if you're not careful, you never use the nice stuff.
Yeah. At the
And
end
that
of the,
sucks too.
At the end of the day, though, it's just nice stuff.
You can't take it with you.
Yeah,
So keep it nice, but like use it
Yeah.
too, you know?
Like, yeah, exactly, man. 100%. That's
And I think people are like that with their martial arts career. To segue back into martial arts.
Yeah, beautiful segue. Yeah, man. Like, oh man, I'm not ready to compete. I think I was doing that a lot this year. I think what's different is like about my story, and of course, like anyone can try to justify their bullshit, and feel free to call me out on this. But like me, it's like, well, I have my band. I'm trying to like perform well, like train, like or practice my music, write new music. And everything that goes along with being in a band, right? And I'm leading the band, right? I'm the band leader. Then I have this business that I started, Rose Hunter Productions. I'm going after that. I'm looking for new clients, making sure I get new gear, learn how the gear works, et cetera, et cetera. I'm also like, I'm a father, so I got to, raise my kid well. And it's like the intent, and I don't have a home jiu-jitsu gym that I train at consistently like I did when I was competing. So it's like, it's kind of fucking tough to say like, well, I'm ready, like, because I'm still training. I'm still better at jiu-jitsu now than I've ever been.
Sure.
Right? Like it's not like I fell off for a year, because that's a fucking disaster. Anyone that does that, like, I'm sorry, some people that has to happen to, but man, that sucks. That sucks when you
Starting
can't do
over.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you really are. You're losing. If you drop off for a year, you're probably losing 6 months of your progress. You know what I mean?
And that's the other side of it is, a lot of times you drop off, you get in your own head, and you're like, well, and you start rationalizing. It's like, just get in there.
Yeah.
If you go once a week, you're going to get better each week.
Yeah.
Like,
or you're going to at the very least maintain, you know what I mean? And your progress might be slower than if you're doing it 5 days a week. But
well, I think that's a good point you made, though, because I think everybody does, especially like martial arts, just to hone in on martial arts.
Yeah.
People do it for different reasons, and that's fine, and like I had to talk actually in the past like 6 months or so with my girl, because my girl's kind of like, I'm running this business, I'm training to be a midwife, I have 3 kids, like all this stuff going on, and I feel like these people are starting after me and kind of eclipsing me in jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, yeah, but like it doesn't mean that to you, and that's fine.
Yeah, like you're on a different path.
Don't like be a hobbyist and compare yourself with the full-time competitors.
Yeah, like, dude, that's something that I definitely don't do. Like, I'm sitting across from you. I'm like, yeah, we got to roll today. That was cool. You were nice to me. Like, I'm not like, well, I wish I could fuck up Josiah. It's like, I'm not training to do that.
And even
you're
if
on a way different path than me.
And
the
even
fact
if
that
you
I
can,
hang with you is amazing to
Sure,
me. Like, I got
yeah.
invited to a fucking fighters like gym.
That's what it's
like,
all about.
Funnest
Yeah,
thing in the world.
It's about having fun with it, and I think the best way to have fun is to feel like whatever the purpose is for you, you're at peace with that.
Need.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and it's okay to just be a fan.
Yeah.
I love the fans. I love everybody that comes out. They're never gonna train, or maybe they train here and there, or
Casual.
maybe they even train a lot, but they're never gonna be competing. I love all of them. Like, you don't have to get in the cage to earn my respect. You don't have to like compete with me or compete with your teammate or whatever. Like, it's totally fine to just be a casual, like, I think it's good for people to hone in on something, kind of specialize in something, whether it's, your music or your family or whatever. You don't want to pull yourself in so many different directions that you're a jack of all trades, that, it's good to be a bard of all trades, but, yeah. But, you know, you do want to be good at some things, but it's fine to just be casual. It's fine to be a hobbyist, you know?
And that's where I'm at. I think, like, because I'm taking, like, so much inspiration. Like, I love to, like, when I interview, like, Trouble, for example, I'm just like, fuck, dude. Like, this dude is a towering, like, amazing professional, like athlete that's sitting across from me that's about to go on The Ultimate Fighter, and just, like, he's just in the beginning of his incredible journey that I know, like, I'm sure he's going to go places.
Sure.
It's just, like, you can kind of tell that about some people. And it's just like, damn, man, like, am I enough? You know what I mean? And I think it's good to ask that.
Sure.
It's good to be a little insecure about that stuff, because if you're not, you won't do shit about it.
It's good to, I agree. And I think something I say all the time is it's good to have a blend of positive and negative motivators.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's good to have things that you're doing it because it's a positive reinforcement, and it's good to not want to suck.
Yeah.
You know, it's good to have positive and negatives, but I told you about the axe chopping down the tree.
No.
Okay, so this is the first debut of that story for you as well.
I think so.
I won't bore you too much. But it really changed for me. Might have been 3 years ago, 3 years ago. I went camping with my buddy, and we had to chop down this tree. We found this tree that was it was standing, but it had no bark, no branches. It was dry. And his axe took a lot longer than we thought it was going to take to chop it down. It was like 45 minutes, probably at least. Going between the axe and his little handsaw. So you'd chop for 5 minutes, and then you'd kind of catch your breath and look up at this tree. You had a lot of time to kind of like think, should we get a different option for our wood, whatever. And it sounds like really silly, but it's stuck with me ever since then, where it really clicked, where I felt like, man, if we had a chainsaw, this would go faster. But like the axe we have is a great tool for this. But once we get the wood chopped up, the axe is useless for starting the fire. And like the lighter that we have is perfect for starting the fire, but like as the tree stands, the lighter is useless, you know? And once we get the fire going, the grate and the skillet are perfect for cooking the chicken. But like as the tree stands, getting the fire started, it's completely useless tools, you know? And it really clicked with me because I felt like so much of my life, I've had things I was kind of good at, but I really hyper focused on the things I wasn't good at. I wasn't bilingual. I wasn't where I wanted to be with music. I wasn't this. I wasn't that. And I never actually got to really appreciate the things I was good at.
Yeah.
I remember it clicked with me. I was like, what makes the axe a good tool for chopping down the wood makes it a useless tool for starting the fire. What makes the lighter perfect for starting the fire makes it useless for chopping down the tree. And it just kind of always stuck with me the past couple years, where I felt like instead of being this imperfect grouping of things I'm okay at and things I'm still not good at, the things I am good at are the things that make me not good at other things. You know, I'm not just lacking. It's the things that I'm really good at. Those are the exact things that make me bad at other things.
Yeah.
So I started leaning into that, like, okay, well, what am I good at? And just like, that's okay. I'm okay with just being good at that, making incremental progress over time, working on things I'm not good at. But it freed me from feeling like everything's a chore, and I'll be happy some future time. I'll be happy when I'm good at this, or when I'm doing this 3 times a week, or when I'm, you know.
Yeah.
And you never get there. And then even if you do it 3 times a week, you're like, all right, but now deep down inside I have this anxiety that like, what if next week I don't, what if I take a week off? Well, what if I miss a training session?
Yeah. Or like in my mind, I'm thinking like, well, my jiu-jitsu is good. Like I'm a great example of this, because like my jiu-jitsu, like almost a decade of training, right? But like striking, like dog shit, right? Like, and I just went and visited finishers, Zach Mikowski and Eddie Alvarez, shout out, for their MMA class, and like, you know, my striking's trash compared to those guys, and it's like, fuck, dude, like maybe if I work on my boxing, I'll be good. But then it's like, fuck, dude. But then what about the kicks? You know what I mean? But it's like, well, I wonder if I can use striking and kicks to open up my jiu-jitsu.
What you're good at. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dude,
so I'm a
dude,
huge...
That is such a... I'm clipping that.
The axe story. Yeah. No, I'm a big proponent in like, if you're a hammer, like look for nails, you know? If you're a hammer, stop looking for pieces of wood that need sawed.
Yeah.
You know, sawn, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like look at what you're good at and lean into it. And then you'll start to feel better about yourself, and you'll have the emotional availability to do things you're not so good at, you know? So that's a big part of my psychology, is just like, it's allowed me to embrace things I'm not good at and things I am good at in a totally different way than when I was just like, I need to be good at everything. And when I'm not, it's like a really big emotional hit for me, you know? Now I'm just like, hey, if I'm not good at something, like if I'm somebody, like, I think most people either struggle a little bit too much with sadness or anger. You know, people respond to trauma differently. And some people withdraw. They're a little more passive. And this is everybody I've met in jiu-jitsu. Most people are either a little too passive and they have to learn how to be aggressive, or they're a little too aggressive and they need to learn how to be passive. And that's everybody. Everybody leans a little one way or the other. And it doesn't mean that, well, I'm lacking this, so I'm an incomplete picture, right? It just means, okay, here's what I'm good at. Try to keep my game like focused on that as much as I can. Keep them in my domain of control, you know, but don't be so wrapped up in like, I just psychologically, I feel like it's like you see David Goggins, you know, David Goggins, great. Pillar of energy.
Yeah.
But like, I always look at David Goggins, I'm like, but what happens when it's like his daughter's birthday and he has to take the day off and not train? And he wants to eat that slice of cake, you know? And then like all of a sudden the next day you feel shitty about yourself. And it's like, you train more than anybody else in the world.
Yeah, dude.
You train more than anyone else in the world. And it doesn't even mean anything to you. You know, you see it a lot in martial arts where guys train, but they always kind of feel like it's never enough, you know? And that's such a terrible way to motivate yourself, where you're like, I'm doing this to not suck, but I'm never going to feel, because you always suck.
Yeah.
Everybody sucks.
So be more like Goku, less like Vegeta.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Don't be so emotionally fragile like Vegeta. Yeah.
I love Vegeta.
Vegeta's cool as hell too. Don't get me wrong. And he really like at the end was like, I'm a good dude deep down. You could see he had a good heart.
Yeah.
And Goku kept like throwing him bones.
Yeah.
Just like, I know you're not like a total shithead. Yeah. Like I know me saying that to you makes you very defensive and you get really angry, you know, but yeah, I think people need to like just enjoy the moment. Like, cause you can be Gordon Ryan. You can be the best in the world and you're still going to get old. You can't take this with you. And that's MMA is like, you might be the best UFC champion of all time. As soon as that title fight's over and you got the belt, they're already asking, all right, well, what about this guy? Well, this guy's got better wrestling, so how about him? Like, you can't go around trying to please the haters. Because haters are going to hate, and it's just what they do.
You only have so many fucks to give in the day, dude, so be careful what you give them to.
Don't give them the pointless shit that's like not making you happy.
Yeah.
You know, like if you can figure out how to be happy with who you are and the progress you're making, like all of a sudden things shift. And I'm not a perfect person. Like I'm not saying this from some like height where I'm like, I've attained something that someone else can't attain. And like, here's all you got to do. Like, I'm just saying it from being a normal guy, like everybody else, like who's been able to do some cool shit that I've always dreamed of doing. Like,
you applied yourself and you made it happen.
I just put myself out there, you know, and that's the biggest thing.
Not be a bitch.
Yeah. Show up and don't be a bitch. That's it. You'll be fine.
Yeah, man. That's awesome stuff, man. Yo, so let me ask you this, man. Like, what made you want to be an MMA fighter? Like, would you watch like fucking WWE growing up, or like
we were not allowed to watch WWE?
Yeah,
but I remember like almost 15 years ago watching Chuck Liddell and Vanderlei Silva and Rich Franklin and Ken Shamrock and all those guys on Spike TV.
Yeah,
I remember being 16 and watching on Spike. We didn't have like any channels until I was 16, and then they got Dish.
Damn.
And I watched a lot of UFC, and I always wanted to do it. I always thought I could.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just, like I said, I kind of didn't 100% believe in myself, really. It's as simple as that. Like, I just always felt like, well, I need to do this. I need to do this many times a week. I need to whatever. And then even when I was training enough, I found something I struggled with for a while was I would try to train enough, but also maintain all my social, relationships. And I never had enough time or energy for both. So I was like, I'm not training quite as much as I want or need to, but I'm also like, I have all these people I don't have time for. And it turned my whole life into like a chore, like a scheduling chore, you know? And then I would find like, you know, here I have a little bit of free time. I don't even want to go out and do anything. You know, I don't even have the emotional availability for it.
Yeah.
So I realized I was like, I'm just going to lean into training, train as much as I need to. If people fall away, that's fine. And, you know, and I've met other people since then, like that have kind of filled those gaps. So,
it's crazy, man. It's exactly how it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's
you attract what like you put out.
Yeah,
know?
for sure. And it takes time. Like it's hard.
Trust the process.
Exactly. Especially nowadays, because nowadays we have such instant gratification with everything. It's hard, whether it's an injury or just progress or whatever. It's hard to do something for 6 months and take a step back and go, is it working? I don't know. I think I made some progress. I'll keep whacking away at it. You know, that's really hard for people nowadays, you know, to like, to whack away at something and see very slow gain. And sometimes you kind of dip a little and like you start to feel like we don't have, you used to have to just work at things forever and like they may or may not pay off. And that was just kind of part of how we were. And now people want that payoff and they're not willing to do anything that's not going to give them that reward. Right. And it's good to value your time. It's good to like do things that, and take time, you know, sometimes to step back and be like, well, maybe this isn't giving me what I want out of it. Like, that's fine. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying, like, it's really hard for people nowadays to do stuff for 6 months and still suck, you know, and do it for another 6 months and be like, well, I suck less than a year ago, but like, I still don't feel good, you know, and jiu-jitsu is so important for that because like, you're gonna suck forever. You can get to black belt, and every 5 years the game changes. You know, like
and if you're not on top of it, you're fucking
sure, yeah. And if you're not 100% on top of it, and that's not your goal, that's fine. Yeah. Who cares? Like, you still have a great skill set. You see a lot of black belts that the game changes and they just kind of stick to. Yeah, that's what I love about Nick at Jiu-Jitsu One. Like, he is always embracing the change. Always like, what does this person have to teach me? You know, and that's been so inspiring for me because it's like you're really leading from the front. You're not just like, here's how it's done. Everyone needs to meet this standard I have.
Yeah. Did you see that thing that Lex Friedman had Danaher on? You saw what he said about like the black belt? No. Well, basically, like Lex asked him like, yo, like what is like some kind of question about like what kind of difficulty is like required or whatever to like get your black belt? And then Danaher was like, it's easy to get your black belt. That's just like, you train for 10 years consistently. It's easy. Like, it's a very simple thing to get. To be a world champion is a different thing than getting a black belt. Like, you know, he kind of riffed on like that, but it's like, that's so huge. You know what I mean? I love that. Yeah.
I was there at Balance when Lex got his black belt.
Oh, really? Dude, that's crazy, bro.
I was there with like 100+ people in that tiny little room, like Shark Tanking the fuck out of that little place. You couldn't breathe. It was so hot and humid. Dude. But I remember.
You roll with him before?
It was I think I was the very last roll. And he had just been on Joe Rogan, I think for the first time. Yeah. And I rolled with him. I remember he had just gotten thrashed by like 100 bodies. And on the last one, I remember the very end of the last roll, I got him in an arm triangle. And I remember thinking, this isn't really fair. Like, should I actually finish this? And then going, yeah, fuck it. And he just like smacked my back. He gave me the most like, you got it. And then I was like, hey man, like, thanks for rolling with me. And I said, I'm sure you've heard this 100 times today, but I actually did listen to your podcast all the way through. I don't always listen to all of Joe's podcasts. There's just too many, you know.
Yeah. You gotta pick and choose.
Yeah, he was so cool, dude. And I remember that speech he gave where he said, thanks for the love and thanks for the pain. And I was there. I was in that room.
That's
yeah,
crazy, bro.
It's pretty cool. He's an awesome dude. He was so cool.
I'd love to meet him one day.
Hell yeah. I'm sure you will.
He's super technical.
Mhm.
Like technology technical.
Mhm.
Like I could have some really, really cool conversations with him about the hacker stuff. For sure.
Oh, dude, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He's MIT, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like I respect him in many, many ways. The only thing
Dude, him and Kanye was a little hard to watch though. When he had Kanye on. And Kanye was like, let me talk about myself for 5 minutes straight.
Yeah.
And then Lex is like, okay, let me respond to this. And he like starts talking and Kanye's just like, what do I wanna be? Oh, I'm the best there's ever been. And he just like starts singing and Lex is just like,
all right.
do you not okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I just won't talk then, I guess. Like you just like hearing your voice. All right, just
He kept saying like he doesn't trust him. I'm like, bro, like I've never met Lex and I kind of trust him, bro. Like you better trust the dude who's hosting a podcast that you're on. Like I would never want to like have a guest on that doesn't trust me. That doesn't.
The Eastern European Jewish dude who brings you on after you make some heinous comments about the Jews, and he's like trying to stand up for you and be like, you're one of my heroes. Like, I don't think you meant that exactly the same way you meant that you said it. And he's like, I don't know, I just see really good things about Hitler. That's all I'm saying. You're just like, fuck, come on, Kanye.
You're killing me, bro.
I know. I felt bad for, and then he said, he was like, so you're saying like you don't trust me? He was like, no, I don't trust anybody. Why would I trust you? And like you just saw him get so hurt.
Yeah,
he was
dude.
just
well,
like,
well, the thing that he said that was like wild to me is like, so you don't have like a close group of like constituents you can confide in? He's like, nah, and I'm like, whoa, that's not a good sign.
yeah.
Like,
He said that, and
you
he
better
said,
have some fucking people.
not
dude.
only that, but he also said he doesn't think reading is valuable because like you're just reading what other people wrote and like getting ideas from other people. And I'm like, so you don't have people around you trust, and you also don't read. Like, if you don't learn from other people's mistakes, you have to make all the mistakes yourself.
Yeah,
you know, and that was a little rough to get through.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know. I always leave it out there. Kanye's he's just a little special. You know what I mean? Like that was the shame with that whole thing where he was like saying something, and everybody jumped down his throat and tried to make it seem like he was saying something else. And then he was just immediately, as like literally the mind of like an 8-year-old artist. That's Kanye. He's like an 8-year-old artist to a T. And he's just like, this is like my cats. It's like, oh, you don't want me to do that? Like, I'm not allowed to say that? I'm going to say it even harder. I'm going to say it so hard every day. I'm going to say it all day, every day till they kick me off social media. You know, like and it was like, you do realize what you're doing to this guy, right? Like you're forcing him into a corner and then he's just in the corner like, well, then fuck everybody. And you're like, oh, he said, fuck these people. And like, they really just like poked him into a corner and then got him to say the most outrageous shit. And they were like, can you believe that the music producer that doesn't read said this about this group of people? It was like, well,
doesn't read. Damn, dude. I don't know, man. Yeah,
not only doesn't read, but like sees no interest in it.
Yeah,
just like,
man.
no, like reading. And like part of me respects his mentality because he is genuine to himself.
Yeah.
Right? Like he always bets on himself. But like you gotta balance that out with
ego is too much, man.
Too much.
I've never really even been a fan of Kanye West. Like people like say like, oh, his music in the early days. Like if you put that music on, like I wouldn't have even known it was him because it was just like not what I was interested in at the time. And even now, like I listen to like super obscure music, but and like whatever, it doesn't matter. The thing is, like, when he got banned on social media and stuff, like, it's like there's so many worse people that are using this platform.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just worried about the influence he's having on
And you're
people.
giving him more influence
You
by,
know,
like,
like,
blowing
it's-
his shit out there all day, every day.
It's like, man.
Like, if y'all would have come from the perspective of, like, this guy who grew up poor and was, like, taken advantage of his whole life and doesn't read, has, like... I keep coming back to that. This guy does not read, not even a little. This guy has some outrageous beliefs.
Yeah.
Like, if we would have just been like, well, duh, of course.
Yeah.
Like,
checks out.
it would have been nothing in the news cycle.
Yeah.
But instead we blasted out every day like, can you believe Kanye said this? I'm like, I could believe Kanye said anything.
Yeah.
I could believe anything came from that guy.
Yeah,
You know, like,
he's so
and
eccentric.
respect. Like, don't get me wrong. The last election, I went out and wrote in Kanye.
Yeah,
And
that's
I was
hilarious.
like, do I think he has any chance of winning? Absolutely not.
And that's what.
But do I think me voting for Biden or me voting for Trump is going to have any impact? Not really. I mean, and that's not to dissuade people from voting because, like I said, I am a patriot. I believe it's your duty, your right.
America's pretty great compared to a lot.
It
of
is
other
amazing.
places. Yeah.
I just felt like in that moment, I was like, my chance of meeting Kanye someday and telling him I legit voted for you. I have a picture of the ballot. Was probably way higher than my chance of like voting for one of the other two people like actually affecting the election. So I was just like, this is kind of my fuck you to everybody.
Yeah.
And I wrote it in and I took a picture. I was like, if I ever meet Kanye, I'm gonna be like, I voted for you.
Yeah.
And it's not a lie. Like I got the picture to prove it, you know?
Did you like there was like you saw Harambe got like a large number of votes or something?
That's where everything started going wrong.
Yeah. Well, dude,
was
it's
when they
like,
killed that gorilla.
Yeah. It's true,
And everything's been downhill since then.
It's a weird thing in the simulation to know that that's kind of where things.
It's
start
weird
getting a
being
little
in the
derailed.
simulation and knowing you're in the simulation. Being like, how do I get out? There's no pill I can take to. There's not a red or a blue pill here, you know.
For real.
But you can red pill yourself. Like I like that. That's kind of a term now.
Yeah.
You know, like.
I think like it's like what do you call it? Like it's stigmatized a lot, that term, but I think like getting woke on things, like even that's a stigmatized terms, but it's like having situational awareness is an amazing thing.
Sure.
And when you have moments of clarity about things that change your behavior to make the things in your direct like circle of control better. That's a beautiful moment.
Sure. And yeah, at the very least, like maybe you can't do anything about stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But if you at least have an idea of what's going on, it at least is like you have the perspective of knowing how to react to it.
Yeah, you
know?
can make informed decisions based on that information.
You're not so emotionally caught up in like, well, I can't do this and I can't, you know, and
Yeah.
it all comes back to like, that's why I think martial arts is so powerful because there's no faking it, you know, like there's no like you can hit the pads great. You can hit the bag, have conditioned shins and like, you know, just look like an animal in the gym. And you get out there and you can't manage that stress, that slow burn that builds up the week before and the week of and the weight cut and the recovery. That's all part of the training, you know? And I think a lot of people look at that like that's just something you got to get through to get to the good stuff. Like, no, there's no good stuff over there. Like the good stuff is right here, you know? The good stuff is like the trial and error of getting better at that process, you know? And I think more people are starting to take pleasure in the process, you know?
Yeah.
And I think
that's a beautiful thing too.
I think they call it Super Bowl syndrome. You ever hear that term?
No.
Where like after they win the Super Bowl, guys have a very high rate of depression, you know? And it's I've also heard people talk about it like always trying to get to the peaks. You're always trying to get to the top of the mountain.
And once
like
you get there, you're like, where's the next mountain?
Right. And that like hike up and hike down is like just extra stuff to get to your goals. Like, no, we're mountain climbers. We climb mountains.
Yeah.
That's what we love. We're halfway
here for the process.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we have more access to processes than we've ever had, you know? And I keep coming back to that with technology. We're the first generation. We saw an analog world. And then we went all the way to like an unlimited amount of porn on a handheld device.
Right.
And we're trying to figure out how to make that work in a healthy, balanced life, you know?
Dude.
And
you know, I had a moment of clarity with this. The next generation is the one that is going to have to fix this. We can't protect them from it.
Sure.
Because it was so irresponsibly put together. And it's already like wrought with flaws that allow for psychological damage on the next generation that it is their problem to fix.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible thing to kind of come to the realization with, but like millennials like us, like we are the find out generation after the prior one was the fuck around.
We're kind of the guinea pigs. Yeah, right.
They
yeah.
were the fuck around. We're
Fuck
the find
around
out.
generation.
Yeah.
It's so true. Yeah. But I think like I totally agree with you. And I think sometimes it's tempting to feel like, well, I wish I could have been born in one of those generations.
Yeah.
I wish I was able to just like have the good economy and buy the cheap house and fuck around a little bit with my money and, or get to the point where, we're actually using stuff intelligently and we're not just being controlled by people that hate us, but I spent my entire childhood wishing I was born in the 40s and living through the 60s. And it was only like the past 5 or 10 years, I genuinely feel like there is no other place I'd rather be, and maybe that's just work I've done for myself.
Yeah.
But it's also just the realization that like to see the analog world turn into a digital world, you have to be part of all that messiness, and that is like a perspective that I think is priceless to be able to go from like, you have to rewind your movies, Remember when we were kids and we were 100%. Like, oh, you didn't rewind this? And if you didn't have a rewinder, you had to rewind it in the VCR. Manually, and you had to like watch the movie in reverse. Backwards. And then you're like, I don't even want to watch this anymore. Like, I'll just watch this in reverse. Like, we saw that on wooden TVs. And for our parents, it was like, well, we didn't have any TVs. And then it was wooden TVs. Like, and then it was color TVs. And,
right.
So I think like, we were the epitome of the gaming generation too. We saw PlayStation 2, bro. PlayStation 2, and then when I was like, I'm only like 2 years younger than you or whatever, but we were like right in middle school when like Halo and Call of Duty came out, and we saw the Xbox 360 and the online gaming generation. And
dude. Like, and what's one of my favorite like memories growing up too is just like couch multiplayer. Like, dude, there's something.
Split screen campaign is where it's at.
Well, another thing is just like before the internet, like there was gaming like before the internet. Like, like just, kids don't realize that,
right?
You know what I mean? But it's like that was like such a great way to bond.
Yeah.
Without like it was easy because you didn't need to go outside and have common skills or interests as much. Like it's like, dude, just fucking pick up the controller. We're playing GoldenEye.
And there's a million people online that are fun to talk to and talk shit to.
Oh yeah, well now that we're moving into 360 territory, you got Modern Warfare 2 lobbies.
Yeah,
and the most best shit talking.
Dude, the Modern Warfare 2, and I was big on the Battlefield Bad Company 2.
Yeah,
and the Halo 2, 3, 4. That was the
Reach
peak
too. I like
and it's cool now. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a gamer. I love gaming.
What do you play now?
So we don't have Wi-Fi where we just moved yet. So, but when I do pick it up, I play Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 1.
That's cool.
I'm a big fan of the Battlefield games.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm more of a fighting, like if it's not obvious with the fighting sticks right here.
Yeah.
I grew up on fighting games like
Tekken and Soul Calibur and
Street Fighter.
Yeah.
And I used to play Smash competitively.
There you go.
Trouble was here last time and he was like, oh yeah, because he used to be a streamer. So like he was saying like, yo, I'll fuck you up. I'm like, you won't in Smash, bro.
Hell yeah.
Maybe in a lot of these other games.
Or Mario Kart. Yeah. I knew some people that were big on that and knew all the like secrets.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Third yellow stripe, jump left. On
Rainbow
Road.
Yeah. No, dude, I think, like I said, we were kind of the guinea pig generation.
Yeah.
And we had to figure a lot of that stuff out by trial and error.
Yeah.
A lot of error. Yeah. But I think I'm a big believer in, I don't know what the psychological term for it is, but like, it's like that concept of like, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Or like, you're your own worst enemy. Or, all those kind of core concepts of, it's okay to fuck up.
Yeah.
As long as you learn from it and you keep moving forward.
Yeah.
The only time it's really an issue is when like we convince ourselves something's wrong with us.
Yeah.
You ever play that game where you're like, oh, sounds
that victim mentality.
Not even just that, but sometimes it's even more subtle than that. Sometimes it's like just you by yourself at night and you're like, is something wrong with me? Am I
looking do I have type shit?
You get into like hypochondriacism. Mm-hmm. You're just like, do I have like a mental disorder?
Yeah.
Do I have am I addicted to video games? Am I? And you start like going down all these rabbit holes, and it really is rooted in like, something might be wrong with me and I don't know about it. And if you know yourself and no, I'm just a human. That's part of the human experience.
Exactly.
Part of the human experience is you make mistakes and you learn from them. That's literally the only reason we're here. Like, the good times are great, family's great, all the whatever. But like, the core of the human experience is to fuck up and be able to have that, oh, well, I did this time, it didn't work, I'm going to try this, and that fucks up. And you do it again. I loved the one thing that I kept from the network marketing days was I remember they used to say fail forward. And I remember like that was the one thing that stuck with me where I was like, yeah, it's like as long as you're failing forward and you're constantly moving forward, it doesn't matter how much you mess up, you know, like not like I said, not unless you really break trust in like you like burglared somebody or, you know, like you abuse somebody or something. But like for 99% of us, we're just normal people. It really comes down to like, are you patient with yourself? Are you willing to forgive yourself? Or are you like, no, I'm an axe and I suck at starting fires. I'm an axe and I can't cut through the wood as fast as a saw, you know? Like,
oh, you know what? I hate to interrupt you, but
no,
like,
I'm just bullshitting.
I like the axe thing because I don't know if you ever heard this quote. I think it's an Abe Lincoln quote. It's like, if you had an hour to cut down a tree, what would you spend your time doing?
Spend the first
50 minutes
sharpening the axe. Yeah, it's true, man. And I think that comes down to training too. Is like if you can address it like that, like you're gonna embrace every aspect of it. Yeah, and you know, I think somebody that really wants to push themselves, you got to compete. I don't think everyone has to compete. Again, I don't think you should measure yourself by the competitor's yardstick if you're not a competitor. But
it's a different skill.
For sure.
It's a different skill.
But if you're somebody deep down inside that feels that urge and you kind of rationalize, well, maybe when I do this, maybe when I have more time to train, maybe when this, maybe when that, like you just got to always bet on yourself. You got to always be like, that's why wrestling's so powerful, because like wrestling, you are going to get your fucking ass handed to you over and over and over. There's no other option. Yep. The only way that those guys that are kicking your ass got to that point was being the nail at one point, you know, like, and it teaches you that like the first time you go out and you lose, it's like awful. It's so traumatic. And then like you do it again and you do it again and you start to almost get a little apathetic and you're just like, whatever. Like, I'm just going to go out here and roll the dice. Like, whatever. Yeah. And then you start feeling like, you know what? Like, what do I have to lose? Like, I lose and then you win and you feel like I'm the best ever. And then you lose again. And then, you know, and like, I think nowadays, especially people aren't pushing themselves to lose as much, right? Like they're pushing themselves to stick in their comfort zones and always look cool to everybody and always look like I know what I'm doing and I have my shit under control, you know? And of course you want to like, you don't want to be an idiot. Like you want to portray yourself in a way you want to be seen. But like wrestling, jiu-jitsu, boxing, like you are not going to walk in there and maintain that, like, I know what I'm talking about. You know, like you're going to go in there and somebody who's been doing this 100 times longer than you is going to kill you every time. And they're going to do it without really even trying. And like, I really hope someday we can get jiu-jitsu into schools. Like, even if it's a club sport. Yeah. Because like, I see that with wrestling. Wrestling preserves the right to an ass kicking, you know? Every other sport, it's so, nowadays, it's so much like, you know, like violence is bad and like, you know, and I kind of agree. Like it used to just be like, just drink and smoke and stop talking about your feelings. Like we've gone a little too far the other way where it's like in any other sport, if you're fucking up, they're going to bench you or they're going to make you run a little. Like wrestling, it's like, if you're fucking up, like it's me and you, buddy. Like, come on. I got something to talk to you about.
You have a team to train with. But it's you on the mat.
Or even the coach, like being a coach, it's like, let's go. Like, you're going to get ground to dust for an entire round. And I might do it another round, you know? And you're going to walk out of here feeling defeated. And then I'm going to pick you back up. I'm going to be like, hey, like, get home, take a shower, get something to eat, get a good bit of sleep tonight. Like, you're doing great. Don't worry about it, you know? And, like, the people that shine in that scenario, people that shine in jiu-jitsu and wrestling are the kids like me who we needed that outlet. You know, we needed to be able to show up and just get our anger and our passion out in a productive way.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, you know, like you might find music, you might find some, but like a lot of these people just don't have an outlet, and they just they're stuck in their own mind, and they need to put that down into the physical plane, and be able to just like.
There's a reason they call it martial arts.
It's an art, yeah, and it's just a medium. It's just a different. You know, whether you're working with clay, whether you're a painter, whether you're into archery, whether you're a musician, whether you're into martial arts, like they're just different mediums, but it's the same mental process of I suck at this and there's no easy or quick way to get good at it. Yeah. So I'm going to just do it. I'm just going to show up and not be a bitch. And that's all I got. I don't have anything other than that. I'm not the best. I'm not the most naturally gifted. I don't have a huge support system of family and friends and wealth. Yeah, let's be honest. Yeah. You know, and I think that can also be such a powerful tool, because the people that have those things, that's what I've learned. Yeah. The people that have all those things, they lean on those things.
Yeah, they don't need to work as hard because
they don't
of some of those
quite
things.
Have to dig as deep as the person who's poor and, you know, is training for years on end, and everybody in their private life who doesn't train sees them a different way. And you constantly have to fight those battles of this is who I want to be and this is how I want to be seen. And all these other people don't know that side of me. I'm still like that. Like I've fought 4 times, and like probably 3 out of 4 people in my life, they're not into fighting and they don't know anything about that. And like I had my mom's uncle, shout out Uncle Paul. Crazy guy. Awesome. He worked for NASA for like 40 years. Oh, wow. Really cool story. Like his story was like, well, I graduated in the mid 50s and or late 50s, and NASA was hounding me for a job. And I was like, I don't want to work for the government. So I moved out to California, worked for Lockheed and GE for a couple years. And then they made me an offer and brought me on board, and then I was a propulsion engineer from Apollo through Challenger, you know. And like amazing. I could talk about him so much, but it's funny, like he taught me a lot, but he was also very like one of those guys you're like, all right, it's a work day, I'm gonna help my Uncle Paul with some projects, and the first project you get off to it and you're like, oh, we don't have the fucking tool that we need, we gotta run back home. You go get this tool, and you come back and you're like, all right, now we got to go to Napa and get this part for this car. And you get the car and you get back and it's not the right part. It's in the right box. It's not the same. And it's just like, and then pretty soon, like every time he would set off on this whole, I don't even want to fucking be here. This life is terrible and blah, blah, you know, and like, it's just, I don't even know how I got on that necessarily. My train of thought's been pretty good this whole time, but I just think, you know, you gotta like, even if you're a NASA rocket scientist, even if you're a, you know, federal, somebody in a government employee, even if you're like the top of the top, you're still going to feel empty inside if you don't do the work inside. Yeah. Right. But if you do the work inside, and again, like, not like I still do this work every day, and at least 50% of the time I'm failing at it, you know, like I'm not.
But you're in love with the process.
I'm just learning to love the process. Yeah. It's an acquired taste.
It is
like
an acquired taste,
you know?
Man.
Yeah.
And it teaches you compassion, I think.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that's why, like, when you went to Brazil, then all those world-class dudes were sparring with you. They weren't fucking trying to take your head off. Yeah.
No, and I've learned, not to make the podcast too heavy, but 2 years ago, my oldest brother killed himself. And that's been a huge part of my journey too, because it's like, it's taught me that this can be awful. This can be a huge shame. This can be like something that I never get over. Or this can be something that gives me compassion for other people. This is something that opens my heart up to the fact that everybody, whether they lost somebody yet, or whether they've already lost somebody, or they haven't lost them yet, you know, like everybody, we all have the same emotions. I think this goes back to what I was saying about art, is like we all have the same frustration, anxiety, depression, sadness, anger, questioning yourself, feeling defeated, hard breakups, or never having a girlfriend at all. Every person has, you might be the richest, most privileged person ever. And your big thing is like, I can never tell who actually likes me. I've never actually emotionally connected with anybody because everybody is just on this money train, and every single person has that. And so for me, it's like, if I can even have just one moment in my entire life, in one moment in 50, 60, 70, 80 years, where I feel like I genuinely have everything I need, I love everybody that's in my life, and I'm thankful to be here. That's something that most people never get a glimpse of. And that's sad, It's like the fact that most people go 60, 70, 80 years, and it's always, well, if I can just get down here and make the podcast, that'll be cool. And then if I can just get the podcast done, and then we'll go out to eat. And then, I ate, but I'm ready to get home. If I can just get home. And then you get home and you're like, all right, well, tomorrow I have to do this. If I can just, and you just kind of live your life like just getting through things, And that's, I'd say most people, almost everybody,
but that can be a way to be present too. Like, I feel what you're saying 100%, but like, I think like, some
dissect it a little bit here.
Some people operate well going week by week. You know what I mean?
I'm not very routine oriented, so it might just be who I am.
I think like what it comes down to is like, we're never taught like in school and it's such a hard lesson to teach children, dude. It's such a hard lesson to teach children.
Even if you're teaching them, they still have to absorb it and kind of learn it themselves.
You might not relate it to them because they're not into whatever brings you meaning.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not taught to find the things that bring us meaning in our life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so rare, like, to find someone such as yourself. And I'd like to say myself too. Like,
sure.
Like I'm very unsatisfied with things, but I like that. Imagine if I was content. Oh,
imagine if you had nothing left to learn.
Right?
Nothing left to do. Everything was done and checked.
Yeah,
that would be even worse.
Yeah, it would.
It's nice to always have something to get to. Something that's not quite.
I need that. And like for me, because I have so many things, like it's funny, like I haven't gone to like a formal band practice with my band since like the holidays, which is shitty. But one of the reasons why is because we don't have anything booked. The instant we book a gig, it's like, shit, dudes, we got to practice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's kind of like week by week. It's like, well, if we're not going to practice and like no one's really motivated to like get on top of it, that's fine. I'm going to hit up Josiah Swarr and see if he wants to do a fucking
There's still
podcast.
things we can do.
You know what I mean?
There's still balls that we can push forward. There's still boulders to push up the mountain, And it's the process, It's just learn to love the process. If you can do that, you're going to meet so many awesome people that are also in the process, and like it's magnetic, and there is something to that law of attraction, so much of that shit is very like, it sounds kind of kitschy, it sounds kind of like new wave, and like a lot of people, it's kind of sad because they're so close but yet so far, where they make an ego of themselves as like a very enlightened person, know, and it's like just those concepts aren't going to do it for you. It's digesting them. It's internal. It's trying them out and being like, I don't think this really worked. But then trying it again and getting a different perspective, or trying something different, and you got to just put yourself out there, and you got to, like you said, some people are very schedule oriented. Yeah. Pretty much my whole schedule. I mean, I have like kind of core trainings I do each week.
It's a good thing that jiu-jitsu happens at the same time every day. Yeah. Or during the week. You know what I mean?
And everything in between then is a
pliable.
little bit of a void,
Yeah, it's pliable.
And I like that. I like having a schedule, but that schedule built into it has the ability to be spontaneous. The ability to mix it up without being like, I ruined my training schedule. Like, I think the biggest attribute that I have that's helped me with fighting is just feeling like I could stop training now completely. I'm not going to do this, I'm not naive or arrogant at the same time, but I genuinely feel like I could stop training completely for 5 years, and I'm still going to have all of the experience that I have. It's going to get rusty. It's going to be not competition ready.
Yeah, the skills will.
But
will
it's
decay.
still going to, as soon as I bring that shelf back off the box, boom, I'm right back in it, you know? And I think that's one of the biggest things that's helped me is looking at it as like all of this is connected. The networking I do, the personal time I have for myself, the training, the time I take off of training. I don't take extended breaks, but sometimes I have weeks where I only train 2 or 3 days instead of 4 or 5 days, you know?
Need to recharge.
And I never feel...
You know your body. You know this machine. You're the pilot. You know it better than
I
anyone
kind of
else.
know it,
You know what I mean?
And if I only know it that much, then, you know, like, don't ever listen to what somebody else tells you should be doing, you know, because so much of that is projection, you know? But I just generally feel like, and I think, honestly, just being honest with... Some people might look at it like, oh, you're telling future opponents that you're not training as hard as them. And I'm like, it's not just how hard you're training, it's what you're training.
Yeah, and how intentional.
Yeah.
This is something like, and I haven't competed in like a year, so I can't legit say one way or another. But man, has my training been very intentional like this year. And my God, have I noticeably improved my jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And like so much to the point where it's like, I'm moving out of my comfort zone. Like, it's like, fuck, dude. Like, I remember when I was a blue belt, I was like, oh, leg locks. Like, COVID hit. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to be a leg lock guy because that's the only people that are training is the guys that are in the basement over here.
The spandex crew. Yeah.
Yeah. We was a black basement crew we had in New Jersey. BBC on Smooth Comp. But, like, it was times like that where it's like, I got to like kind of learn that, and like I was kind of like, oh, I'm a bottom guy like now, like I'm a leg locker or whatever. And then like my wrestling was dog shit, and like this year I decided like, no, dude, like if someone beats me at something, I'm making a scar. We're making a scar for that,
yeah.
And we're looking back at that scar now.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, we got fucking destroyed by that Toriano pass when fucking Josiah grabbed my fucking gi pants that I haven't worn in fucking 6 months. Like, man, I should figure that shit out.
Forgot about
again.
those. Yeah.
Dude, fucking hey, dude. Why can they grab my knee so effectively in the gi? What the fuck? Yeah. So it's like
nothing like training no gi for a long period of time, and then you go gi, and one guy just goes.
Yeah.
And you're like,
what the fuck is this? It's like, why am I stuck everywhere?
Yeah. Why are my own collars choking me right now?
Exactly. And I love that because of this, like I'm probably gonna like go to a gi class like in the next couple of weeks. Or like,
gi is my jam.
Let me check some of this shit out now.
I love no gi.
Yeah.
And I think my wrestling crosses over better and whatever. But the gi, it's funny because the first year that I trained jiu-jitsu,
yeah,
I was just doing kickboxing and I was like ready to do MMA. And this is like 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember always looking over at the gi class that would happen the same time as kickboxing. And I remember thinking, I have wrestling and I have, striking now. I'm good. And like, I remember thinking the gi, it looks so uncomfortable. It's always coming undone. It looks hot. Like, I remember the day that I put the gi on, I remember like folding it and just looking down and being like, I want to be buried in this someday. Like, this is my work attire. This is like awesome, how people feel when they put like really nice dress clothes on. I felt that way in the gi, and like tying it and just being like, this, like, I love no gi. Like I said, I love both. I go back and forth. Do I like this one better? Do I like that one better? I don't know if I like one better than the other. But I like how I feel in the gi. And I'm a firm believer that like people have kind of gotten away from the gi now.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's cool. But you have to at least train in the gi. You can't be getting a belt when you never wear a belt.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Dude,
like,
I feel that.
You're a black belt.
I'm sure there's some 10th Planet guys that are like, fuck you right now.
Eddie Bravo says that I can do whatever I want and rename all the moves. You know, it's like, I don't know. I almost feel like if you're only going to do no-gi, there needs to be like a different promotion system. You know, like almost like they have. It is
interesting that like in Nog is the one that comes to mind, but they have in no-gi it's novice, beginner, intermediate, expert.
Yeah.
And then in gi it's white, blue, purple, brown, black.
Yeah.
There's 5.
Yeah.
and then they're broken up further into age like things. You know what I mean? But like novice and beginner are both white belt. Intermediate's blue belt. Advanced is purple, brown, black. So I always found it really weird that like in gi you can separate the ranks like that, but in no gi it's like nope, you're advanced now.
I just think it's hokey as hell when you never train in the gi, and then you have a belt promotion ceremony. I'm just like. And they'll put the gi on, or they'll put the belt on with a rash guard. And it's just like, get out of here.
I think there's something about, I think I've had every belt promotion that I've personally had was in the gi. And that's all right. Yeah. I'm good with that. Yeah. It should be that way.
And I'm not saying there's not crossover and like.
Oh, of course. Like it's like, the same sport. It's just different skin, you know, or different, you know, it's the same game. It's
very similar. But you have to do both.
Yeah.
If you don't ever do the grips, you can be the best no-gi guy in the world. And if you've never done grips, that dude who's like 45 with the fucking ape hands, you know, he's going to grip you up and you're going to be like, what the fuck? And I can't fall back for these leg locks. Like, I love the gi. And I just, something about the vibe in a gi is so special. And I really hope that everybody like that's high level in no-gi.
Everyone's New Year resolution that's watching this one, man.
Do more
get a gi class in once a month.
Yeah. It's good for your soul. It's good for the gym. It's good for you. It's good for your soul. And it's just like, I don't know. I love the way I feel when I put a gi on. You know?
Man.
Like
there's like when you catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror, you're like, yeah, this feels right.
I earned this. I've trained in this enough that my belt has gotten a different color, you know? Like versus like I put this on once a year for the belt promotion ceremonies, like so I can get a stripe and then take it off and then never train in it again till the next time. Like that, I don't know. I'm very like, to each his own, whatever strokes your boat, whatever
floats your boat.
Float your boat and different strokes for different folks. Yeah, I was like, I'm mixing up what I'm saying. So, but that's like one little thing where I'm like, I'm kind of adamant about this. Like, you should also train in the gi. Otherwise, you're just a technician in the no gi, and that's cool. But like, I almost feel like it should be like Muay Thai where they have the bands for their arm. Like,
tell me about. I don't even know. Like, I've never done Muay Thai.
I don't even know all the different colors, but they have like, I think they're called prajit, and the prajit is like the tassels that they have around their arms, and they come out and they have the headdress on, which has a different Thai name, and the tassels, and they do their little dance before. That might actually be called the prajit. I'm sorry for all the Muay Thai guys. I'm butchering this. I do love it as a
imposter.
Yeah, it's like the judo guys. I'm like, I love judo. I've trained with some judo black belts. I have some good throws, but like, I'm still a white belt in judo. Like, I'm not gonna show up with my colored belt and act like I have any standing in that world, you know. But Muay Thai is like, when they do their ceremonies, they have like 4 or 5 different colored bands around their arm, and when you get promoted, like the top one is a black band, so it's like a black belt equivalent, but you wear it on your arm, and then you're a crew, KRU. So like a black banded crew is like somebody that's like a black belt in that, you know. And I almost feel like if you're only gonna do Muay Thai, there should be like arm bands or something, you know, or ankle bands.
You mean
like,
no-gi?
Yeah, is that what I? Yeah, I said
Muay Thai.
Yeah. If you're only gonna do no-gi, I almost feel like it doesn't make sense.
How many years does it take in Muay Thai to get that black band?
I don't 100% know, to be honest. Yeah,
I feel like in jiu-jitsu, it's I've seen something like on Wikipedia or some bullshit back in the day. I don't fucking remember, but it's like 2 years white belt, 4 years blue, 2 purple, 2 brown, then black.
Yeah,
which
that makes
is
sense.
10.
Yeah,
yeah,
that makes sense. And I think like I was a white belt for like 3.5 years or something. But I was also like the last year or two, they were like, you can't be a white belt forever. And I didn't even have like a legit like belt with the black bar on it. It was like a kid's belt that was just all white.
Dude, I had a fucking karate white belt dude. One time. I just
showing up
someone
like
gave me a shitty gi and I just
no expectations. And you show up and you can hang.
Yeah.
And you're like,
I don't know if I could
guy?
hang.
Yeah.
I was dog shit back then, but I remember my coach then gave me a white belt. He's like, here, fucking throw that thing away.
At least wash it. Yeah. No, I did not care at all about the belts until I got like high level blue belt. And then I was just like, all right, like I've had enough of this. Like give me that purple belt now.
Yeah.
And then like the purple belt ended up hanging around for like 3 years or whatever, and feeling like towards the end of it I was like, I'm ready for the brown belt. Like there's brown belts and black belt. Like how you said, like you start to get to this point where you're like, all the brown belts and black belts I roll with, I can hang with.
Yeah.
Like, you know, whether we're going to split hairs and say I'm better at this or they still are way better at this or whatever, like you can at least hang with them.
Yeah.
And, you know, to some people it means something, to some other people it doesn't. It didn't mean anything to me for a long time.
Did you compete at every level?
I only competed as a white and a blue belt. And then, so I won 2019. I did a bunch of IBJJS blue belt.
Yeah.
I ended the year in New York, 9 matches. I got, 3rd in the gi, and then gold no gi and gold absolute no gi.
Nice, man.
So that was like a big feather in my cap. And I was like, I'm hitting my stride. And then I left the gym and then COVID happened. And I was like, fuck. And then I got injured by the end of 2020. And,
I had wins at blue belt, man, but like I never like got gold, and it killed me when my coach gave me my purple belt. I was like, no, I need to get gold before this happens. But it's like,
it's not like that.
Yeah, because like one of the things I think that someone told me this, someone I really respect. I can't remember who it was though, but like I know I respected him a lot because the word sunk.
Sure.
But it's like, dude, like you got to trust that your coach knows you better than you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And I had wins. It's not like I was losing every match I had at blue. It was I had like a slightly positive KD. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe like even.
And honestly, sometimes blue belt is the hardest one because there's 3 times as many guys.
Yeah.
And there are a little bit shorter matches. So you have more matches, slightly shorter, and everybody is going balls to the wall.
Yeah.
Like once you like purple belt's also really intense, but there's like maybe half as many purple belts in the bracket as the blue belt.
Oh yeah, dude, I had the biggest bracket at Naga the last time I did the blue belt. It was like,
that's what I'm saying.
There was no other weight class or belt level that had like I think I had like over 30 people in my fucking bracket.
I know the last time I went up to New York, I think I had like 43 people in my bracket. And that's the thing. Then you get dude, I know. So it was retarded. It was awesome. It was such a good time. I missed the IBJJF, bro.
Don't you have to pay? Like, I never did an IBJJF because I heard like bad things about them. Like, you gotta pay the membership or whatever.
You pay the membership and you have to pay, but like to be honest,
don't win
like
any money or anything.
You don't win money. Well, the New York Pro, they have a cash prize.
Oh, do they?
The spring, summer, fall opens, they don't, and the pans, they don't. But it's what was I saying? The IBJJF, blue belt. It's like once you get up to brown, it's like 9 minutes. Black belt's 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and there's a quarter as many guys, and they're longer matches, so they're paced. They're very paced. Like you watch the upper belts. If you're not someone that's into jiu-jitsu, sometimes it's kind of boring, you know, because it's so paced,
super technical,
and so technical, and
game of inches. Shit.
So I almost think blue is the hardest sometimes because there's way more guys. They're all going super hard, and the matches are still pretty long. Like they're like 7-minute matches, you know. So like the matches are still pretty long, and then you get up to purple, brown, black, and like. You get a little more time to work. You get less matches, and they know more. So they're playing a totally different game. You know. Sometimes I think blue belt's like almost the top of the heap. You know, they're hungry. They're still like not super injured. Yeah. You know, and they're just all of them want that gold. You know.
Yeah, dude. Like I never like I podiumed a couple times at blue belt. I remember one. It was like I won one, or I got a bye, won one, and then lost my next one. And I was like, and then I got a bronze medal, and I'm like, I fucking shot it. I use it as a target when we went shooting. Like in that case right there, I just like, I only keep stuff that's meaningful to me. Like most of the things in there are first place. one of the things in there was a third place thing, and that was from DEF CON this year.
Nice.
I did my first.
Was that sub only?
DEF CON is a hacking competition.
Oh,
well, it's
okay.
a hacking convention, and I did a hacking.
Oh, you talked
Capture
about
the
that on
flag.
your podcast.
Yeah.
It was you and like a team of.
Yeah, the guy I interviewed actually was on my team.
Yeah.
And when we were first place the first day, and it was a 3-day event. So by the end of the third day, we were at third, and it was like podiuming in that. Like I remember, like I don't know, man. It just meant something. Like it was like, dude,
3
like,
days, bro.
Yeah, dude. Like, and I was like I was not in the upper echelon on the team. Like I got some of the fewer points of everybody that was on the team, but it was like. Just the fact that I could be among the ranks and speak and support each other and like, cause without me, they wouldn't have gotten third place.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like if they were like minus me and like had maybe like someone comparable to me, maybe they wouldn't have got it. Cause I had specific tools and knowledge of certain things to get the few things that I was able to get.
And I'm sure just who you are as a person, you fit into that team and you were able to contribute.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
Versus like there might have been somebody that was way more knowledgeable, but they weren't a team player like that.
Yeah,
and, you know,
it was interesting for sure. Like,
where was that again?
Vegas.
Oh wow,
yeah, it's the biggest hacking convention in the world.
Dude, that's
Definitely.
awesome.
Yeah.
I remember you talking about that.
But that fan I got from the Korean guys that run the event, that big Korean fan in there, that was the third place. Like they gave us a bunch of shit for third place, but like it
was run by like
each of
Koreans.
us had one of the
Koreans
fans.
ran it.
Yeah.
Oh, of course,
Yeah.
it's a hacking convention. Yeah.
But it's cool. I'll show you more about it later.
The South or the North?
South.
It's got.
Although North Koreans are very good hackers.
Those
too.
hackers are probably they're just not allowed to compete
they're
out
just
of
a little
country.
criminal in there.
They have like all of their tables have like Kim Jong-un like on video call at all times, watching, smoking, eating cheese and smoking.
Cheese.
They said he eats like pounds of cheese every day.
I don't know where I heard this before, but like I heard that cheese is more addictive than heroin from somebody. I believe it.
It's the fat and the protein, you know. It's actually like helping you at the same time as like destroying you, you know. I am glad I digest dairy. Like I got that shellfish allergy the past 5 years.
Yeah.
And that kind of sucks a little bit, but
cheese. If I had to like pick shellfish or cheese
or
I'd
dairy
pick cheese
every
all
time,
day,
bro. Yeah, the big glasses.
And I'm a huge fish guy.
Sure.
That's all I eat.
As a pescatarian. Yeah.
You know,
we love our cheese. Yeah.
Dude.
The chocolate milk, the cheese, the butter. I can't compromise on that. That's like 50% of my diet right there, you know. And everybody diet. That's the thing is like everybody, whether it's martial arts or dieting or anything really, is like so many people, they look at people that are already successful. Yeah. And then they try and mimic that.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
and it's one thing to learn from people that are successful and integrate that, but you are going to be successful because of who you are.
Yeah, some people are like genetically gifted. Like we were talking about before, like there's certain like even if you lift like what's the lifter you were talking about earlier? Like we were talking
Dorian
about Ronnie
Yates.
Coleman. Yeah, it's like you're just even if you copy him, like you could take the same steroids, you could do the same lifting routine. You're gonna get different results. It's you're different body types, different metabolism.
A little nature, a little nurture. Yeah, but you know that also means. I love the saying, like, we create our own luck.
Yeah.
You know, like you might not be able to get to where this guy, like, I'm never going to be able to jump as high as a 6.5 foot tall dude.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I can still work on my box jumps and get better and feel like better about myself. And it's still going to help me be a more well-rounded person and competitor.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
And I just think so many people, we get so caught up on like, you know, and dieting's the same way. Yeah. Everybody, like, if I look the way I look, I could just make a diet and I could just, and the problem is they're all elimination diets.
Yeah, right.
It's all just don't eat any grains and you'll look like me, or don't eat any meat and you'll look like me, you know, or don't eat. And it's all about what you don't eat, you know? And the sad thing is so many people that are really looking to lose weight, or even just be healthier and feel better, they're the most vulnerable people. You know, they're the people that need the help the most. And it's so easy to fall into like, oh, well, it's working for this guy. Like, I'm going to give that a try. Oh, I'm going to try this. You try a couple things.
Instagram's not fucking helping.
And none of those things are going to help you. And then you give up, right? You pour the gas on the fire because you're like, well, I tried this. I tried that. I wasted a ton of money. I feel even worse about myself, and now I gained 10 pounds because I feel shitty, you know,
and
versus just being
social media is like a huge problem with that too.
Yeah.
Because like the algorithm's going to feed you what you're susceptible to.
Yeah. Instead of what doesn't sell, which is find the carbs, fat, and protein that you digest well, and then learn to balance that. Learn like, do you only want to eat 8 hours of the day or 6 hours, or are you fine eating 10 hours of the day? Like some people need to eat as soon as they wake up, and some people they don't need to eat until middle of the day.
What are you like? You like breakfast?
So it's kind of funny because I try to keep my body more or less on its toes. Some days I eat a ton of food.
Yeah.
Some days I barely eat anything. You know. Some days I drink 10 beers. And then I'll go, maybe not. I don't know the last time I drank 10, but I've drank probably 5 or 6 beers. You know what I mean? 10 beers for breakfast. Yeah. No, but I'll have
senior week.
Yeah. Nope. Just my day off by myself and the cats. Yeah. But I'll drink 5 to 10 beers.
Yeah.
And then I won't drink it all for 2 weeks, or maybe I drink again the next day. And then I don't drink for 2 weeks. I might, especially like for competing, you have to eat earlier in the day. You have to get up and start eating, especially for a weight cut sport like this. Like you have to be able to, okay, the weight cut's done, start eating. And I wake up the next day and I go to the bathroom and I start eating, and I just get as much fuel in my body as possible. But so yeah, I don't know. Like I'm not one of those people that's like, this is how you have to do stuff. I'm just somebody who's like, this is what works for me, and for me personally, I have to have like a little bit of a routine, but my routine every single day adjusts,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard for me to make plans, dude. It's hard for, look
like
how we made the plan for the podcast.
Yeah.
It was like a year or something, but it was like, we knew it would happen. You just had to find the right time. Yeah. And trust the process. And so I'm like that a lot with my food. Like I eat a lot of pasta. I eat eggs. I eat steak. I eat Dave's bread. I'll make like turkey sandwiches. I'll eat pizza. I don't think pizza's bad for you. Like if you digest cheese and bread fairly well.
It's a little greasy, but
and depending on what kind you get, are you getting the meat lovers pizza, or are you getting like, I love white pizza. White pizza is one of my favorites, and so, and I love the, shout out Joe Rogan, the pineapple and anchovies.
Yeah.
That's my jam, bro. That shit is so good. He said that, and the first time I got it, I was like, yeah, this is okay. Like, I don't not like it. And then I started like craving it.
Yeah,
and I was like,
right.
this is my
You just
jam.
started needing
Yeah.
it.
And it's nice too, because like I said to you, like people aren't going to eat your extra pizza that's in the fridge, but also it is, if you order pineapple and anchovy pizza, it is the fastest way to become known by the pizza shop. You know what I mean? Like nobody else is getting pineapple and anchovy,
Yeah.
So if you're the guy that gets pineapple and anchovy, they notice every time.
Yeah.
And they like, I'm all about building relationships.
Yeah,
like if
that's
somebody's,
so funny,
if somebody's like my main like food source, like I want them to know, like I'm supporting you guys. I like you guys.
Yeah.
I'll give you a 5-star review on Google. Like don't
make-
make me write a 1-star.
You make a good anchovy
Dude, I
pie.
thrash some people on
Yeah.
Google sometimes, bro. Like I have some reviews that I'm like a local guide now. And
Josiah's hands are as dangerous as his Yelp reviews.
oh,
y'all.
dude, I'll get emails from Google, and it's like your reviews have reached 15,000 people, bro. I've got like a quarter of Lancaster's population reading my review.
I'd be reviewing jiu-jitsu
Not
gyms.
really.
Like,
Yeah.
if I wrote a great review about your gym, that's a good sign. And if I didn't write a review about your gym, maybe not a good sign.
Well, and when you do but when you write a good review, it means so much, because most people are only going to take the time to write reviews if something is really bad.
Yeah, dude.
So
100%.
like, you always kind of take that into consideration when you're like, well, this place has some good reviews and they have a couple bad reviews. It's like,
Yeah.
well, how many people didn't write the bad reviews?
Yeah.
So I don't know. And
I
yeah,
feel that.
we could go all
Really
into the
quick.
rumors. Yeah.
It's 10:30.
Okay.
Last I checked. So
When did we start this?
7:15. So it's been 3 hours and change.
We've been on here for 3 hours.
Bro.
Damn.
We've been going off.
And
So-
I feel like we could easily do another
I know,
3
dude,
hours.
Like this could have been 5 easily.
Yeah.
But I think let's start tapering it back a little bit.
Sure,
I
yeah.
got like a few more pretty good questions I wanted to ask.
I'm gonna
you.
put one more chaw in if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem. no
Finish
problem.
this one with a big pinch.
Yeah. So, let me ask you, like, from all of your every MMA fight you've had was with Art of War, or you had other?
Yeah,
ones?
just Art of War
Okay,
so far.
cool.
I've had 4 in a year, so I've thought about CFFC and Cage Wars, a couple of these other organizations, but I'm just like, dude, if I'm getting 4 a year at least, and Mike and Deb treat me so
Yeah,
well,
Big
like,
Kings is good, man.
why
Like,
fuck
I
around?
hear
you know?
I hear such good things about him versus the other promotions that I've like asked other fighters about that have done more than one.
I've heard that too, and not only that, there's every single time they put on a promotion, there's UFC fighters in the crowd.
Yeah.
You know, so like, here's the thing, like I said earlier, you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you.
Yeah.
But you also have to bet on yourself and know your own worth, you know? And I just look at it like, if I have a promotion that's giving me 4+ fights a year and I really like them and they're a segue into the UFC, like, why go fuck around anywhere else? You know what I mean? Like, I could get into LFA. You know LFA?
Yeah.
I get into LFA. I knock a bunch of guys out. And there's still that stipulation of, okay, but what about when he gets in the UFC? You know, like, or I can just fight where I'm at, try and lead that, you know, if my body holds out, into the UFC. And like why do all the extra work that doesn't even mean anything? You know what I mean? And take your shelf life away. And there's something that happens where if you don't draw boundaries at all and respect yourself, people pick up on that. And if you're a people pleaser, I'm not saying like with the promoters I'm with or anything. I'm just saying in general with life. Like, because I really do feel valued where I'm at, and I'll always thank Mike and Deb, because like I genuinely, even on a personal level, I really respect them. So, but if you're always trying to make people happy, and you're always trying to like I need people to recognize how great I am, kind of stuff, there's gonna be people that they're haters, and they're never gonna give that to you. And they're going to string you along until they're done with you, you know? And it's funny because, like, I've had to learn to say no to people, and I've had to learn to speak my mind. And for, like, at first you might think people are going to be mad or people are going to whatever. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I got way more respect by saying no to something than I did, you know, just saying yes all the time. So there's a little blend of that.
Yeah, man, I feel that, because it's like there's very, very few people I don't fuck with, and the ones I don't fuck with, I have good reasons not to. And y'all know who you are. Anyway,
you know,
yeah.
Your shit's getting hacked all the time.
I mean, if it was legal, it would be a game over for your internet presence. But
I see those fingers crossed.
Fucking dickhead. Unfortunately, I'm a known hacker, so it's like obvious I'd be the prime suspect for something like that. So that's a big problem. Good hacker,
closer to danger, further from harm.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Everybody knows your reputation, and it precedes you, so you're good.
Exactly.
Yeah, as long as you're a white hack. What's that?
Yeah,
white
hat.
Yeah,
ethical.
Yeah.
But anyway, we can end on a couple. I've 3
You
questions.
were asking me a question, and then I just like got off
you
on.
answered it. You answered it. But other question. There's a good one. So like, tell me about your dream fight. Who you love to fight? You can fight
probably
anyone.
Clay Guida.
Yeah,
I would
that's
love to
fucking
fight my
awesome.
heroes, bro. Maybe McGregor. That would be an awesome payday and a lot of fun.
I like how you're thinking about like the logistics, like in payday. Like, that's a great reason to
fun.
do it.
Yeah, and I know like I'm a respectful guy. I'm trying to make friends. You know, I know I'm gonna fight some tough guys.
Yeah,
you know, there's always guys want to play tough guy. Like, fuck it, let's play tough guy.
Yeah,
let's play tough guy. But I'm also gonna be like, look at this guy. Like, he's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
this guy's got his thing going.
Yeah.
He's like swinging his dick around, and he's like big Mr. Tough Guy. Like, good for you, man.
Good
Keep
for you.
it up. You know, like. I genuinely I don't have a problem playing tough guy. I don't have a problem staring in your eyes and digging my fucking heels in. But it's just like, I would much rather afterwards, like, our gyms are like not affiliated, but like friendly.
Yeah.
You know, like I'd much rather just, when I build my own gym in the next 5 or 10 years, like I'd much rather have other people that I know that I trust, and I can, you know, both of our gyms can benefit from that. So
Yeah.
I'd rather do that, but you know, you want to play tough guy, like square up,
do that.
let's pony up, let's see what you got. You know,
That's good shit. That's awesome, man. So like, there's a good one here too. Is there a rematch you'd like? Anyone you've rolled with or kickboxed or fought MMA with in the past? Any rematch you'd like?
Well, I mean, I've only fought 4 times. The first one was Christian. I lost to him. I don't really want to rematch him though, because he's my boy, and he's also a weight class above me. So that was like a fight I took on short notice, 10 pounds heavier than I would ever fight.
Yeah.
Alex, you know, if he wins a couple more fights and we're on a tear, I think we could get a story going, you know. Aiden, I beat him. He's still super green, good wrestler. Seemed like he took the loss pretty well. Like, we were just like, dude, you're fucking awesome. Like, you came out here, you're in school, like all your friends are watching this. Like, props to you, dude. You took me down. You got to take down. I triangled you afterwards, but like, you took me down, you know? Yeah. The only thing I can really think of is I'm trying to remember his name, but there was a dude, when I did IBJJF, there was a dude that would always win the gi. I'll have to go back and look at the podium. I lost to him twice, and they were both like really pretty close matches. Yeah. And he was a D1 wrestler and a pro MMA fighter.
Oh, wow.
And like, he would swamp the gi. He would just swamp everybody, you know? Yeah. So yeah, if I could ever line up a fight with him, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like I have enough clout yet to be calling out rematches, but I feel and I got the belt, so who's calling me out? You know?
No, that's a good answer. Like the one where you lost twice close matches. That's a good answer. Cause like me, like most people I've had on the show, it's like anyone I've ever lost to. That's who I want to rematch with. Like,
I don't care, bro. Yeah. Whatever. Like, I genuinely feel like I'm happy with what I've done so far, and I'm excited to see what I can still do. Yeah. And you know, I feel like it's coming together. I have a lot of good skills. I still have a lot of skills I'm working on. My footwork is coming along. Just in the past year, I had, you know, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, Muay Thai, and but I didn't have footwork, and so everything was like stand and bang.
All right.
So I'm excited to see once that footwork really downloads, because each fight I've had in the past year, it's gotten better. Yeah. And there's still things I'm like looking at, like, I need to be better at that. But it's like a positive thing. It's not like...
You study tape a lot? I think that's pretty important.
I'm not John Danaher, but, you know, I do. And I study my own tapes. I study, like that stuff I showed with Khabib. I've studied that and, like, read about... I forget what the website was, that they have some really good breakdowns. There's some good YouTube channels. Yeah, I study, but I do it in like I try and pace myself so I don't burn out on anything.
Yeah, you can definitely with that if you're not Danaher, right? But yeah, man. All right, final question from me. Do you have any advice for any up-and-coming MMA fighters out there looking to get a belt of their own?
So also I want to say this. Last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm super thankful for the opportunity to fight for an amateur belt. I understand it's not a pro belt. I didn't work my way up the rankings and become the belt holder, you know. So I always I don't want to sell myself short, but I almost look at the fight that I had as being at the right place at the right time. Yeah. And
make your own luck.
Putting myself out there, fighting on short notice, winning another fight, Alex winning 2 more fights, building a story, you know. So that's hard work, you know, but I'm also, it's just an amateur belt. So it was kind of like a bone that Vikings threw me, you know.
And it means something.
It definitely does. But I
that was not an easy fight, bro. You guys were
fucking humble, you
banging.
know.
Yeah.
But
it could have went either way though. It was split decision, right?
No, it was unanimous.
It was unanimous. Yeah.
But what was the question? You said the belt.
Any advice to give up and coming MMA
Don't
fighter?
wait until you're ready. Just put yourself out there. Yeah, rule number 1, show up. Rule number 2, don't be a bitch. That's all there is. Whether you win or lose, you're going to make friends. People are going to respect that you showed up, respect how you handled yourself. And I said that to Deb and Mike since the beginning. I said, look, my main thing is I want to show up with a good attitude. I want to be professional. And that's it. You know, like I'm going to show up. You know what you're going to get. My paperwork's done. I'm ready to go. I'm never going to pull out with some bullshit injury.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there, win or lose. I'm going to throw down and put on a show for the fans, you know? So, yeah, that's what I would say. Guys that are coming up, is just always bet on yourself and show up and don't be a bitch. That's all you got to do.
Those are some excellent words to end the show with. Make sure you guys hit up Josiah. He also does privates. He's in the Lancaster area, and I just want to make sure I give you that shout out before we end the show.
Appreciate you,
but
brother.
Definitely follow Josiah Swarr on Instagram, and that's a wrap. Thanks.
Hell yeah, brother. Love you, Coach.
This was awesome. Yeah.